living the dream. I'm in love with the lights. This is not just a game. This here is my life. Put the cameras on me, yeah. Put the cameras on me, yeah.
Hello, everybody. Live from Koreatown on a Saturday evening. It is the O-ZONE. I'm your host, Omar Miller. I'm here with my brother from the same mother, Terry the Contrarian, known as the Icons with a Z. But he's not who we're here to introduce, ladies and gentlemen. We'll get to him shortly. We have a special guest today. We know how he is. He's gimpy. He's trying to follow suit of his younger brother with a bum wheel. I hope he heals up to 110%.
I shall.
But we have a special guest today, folks. Star of screen and the field and diamond, and a true leader in the short time that I've known him. You really come off like a solid man. And you seem like you take pride in that, which I appreciate because we don't got a lot of that nowadays. That's unfortunately not common.
No, I agree.
Yeah. Michael Fishman is here, ladies and gentlemen. The Michael Fishman from Roseanne, from the Connors, has had a big league career in the film industry, in the television and film industry for a long time now. How you doing?
I'm great.
Yeah, you look great.
I can't wait.
He's ready to go to tech mode. I need security. I need security. Help me. This is after me.
He's just waiting.
No, I just want to hear you guys' point of view. That's all I'm here.
He's been chomping at the bit. He's the resident Astros fan, and we have to give credit where credit is due. The truth is the truth. He called the Astros to win the World Series in 2017. From wire to wire. He called the Astros to win it. He had been tracking them for a few years before. I want to say since they drafted George Springer was when he was really like, you know what? Yeah. These guys can turn the beat around with this kid right here as a franchise kid. Then Altuve showed up and became the best hitter in baseball. The kid Bregman showed up halfway through the season and was like, had more confidence than you'd seen in baseball. Then forget about it. They signed Justin Verlander.
Brought up Lance McCullers.
They brought up Lance McCullers. Yep. They fixed that problem. Fixed that problem with Ken Giles.
Yep.
So he's been with him.
They came in like a wrecking ball.
Did. And he was also an Astros apologist, if you will, when they got jerked on that Mookie Betts call against the Red Sox in 2018, which I agree they did get jerked. You cannot assume that Mookie Betts is going to
catch a ball in the stands.
Catch a ball in the stands.
Who does that?
Mike.
Oh, yeah, he would have had that. I just know if it would have been 3 rolls instead of 4.
Can't do that. He cannot assume that that's an out. At the least, that's a ground rule double. At the least.
Come on.
When we all know it was a bomb. But here's where we are, folks.
Where are we?
This is the O-ZONE.
Where are we?
2020. And the Houston Astros and the Boston Red Sox success is tainted. Tainted love. It's tainted love. They're talking about bringing titles back. They're talking about stripping players.
Ridiculous.
I don't know what's going on. All because, as we've talked about for the last couple of weeks, this is a semi version of the Trump impeachment, folks. More and more evidence comes out that's making him look guilty, and we have an apologist here, and his name is not Michael Fishman.
No, it's not me.
And his name is not Omar Miller. There's a man here who doesn't have a problem with what the Houston Astros have done. We have a lot to cover today, including the NFL, including boxing, but we're going to start here, and I have a feeling we're going to be here for a while. Let's talk about it. If you've been living under a rock, let me catch you up to speed.
Catch us up.
In 2017, Alex Cora was the bench coach for the Houston Astros. The Houston Astros, I think they won 103 games during the season, more or less. Crazy. Something crazy. They were a dominant team.
Yep.
They got Verlander at the trade deadline, and Justin Verlander came over and was Cy Young himself. He dealt in the postseason. These guys were as clutch as it gets, and they beat the Dodgers. It took them all 7 games. It took them actually about 6 games and 2 innings, but because after the errors in Game 7 at Chavez Ravine, the game was pretty much over. But what happened was, in that series, we've come to find, and all throughout the season, the Houston Astros had a high-tech system of stealing signs. And by high-tech, I think everybody in the room is proficient in baseball. I don't know about Ernie, but everybody else in the room is. Ernie might know. Ernie might have stole my signs when I came in, actually. I pulled over. I made a right. He was on me. I couldn't even run my route. But everybody in here is a proponent of stealing signs. Don't get it twisted, O-ZONE, because that's part of baseball.
Within the framework of the game.
Within the framework. Let me finish. No, everybody gets to say whatever they're going to say. So, the Astros win in 7. We come to find that they had a camera, a live feed set up to the dugout To which they had a system of actually physically, a barbaric system to actually go along with this high-tech system of just banging on the trash can.
But how else are you going to send the system?
There you go. To let you know which pitch was coming.
Right.
And it was effective. Now,
to a certain degree.
This is what I want to play, and I'm going to play this clip, and then we're going to get straight into it. I'm not trying to tease anybody. So they win the World Series the next year. Partially because of that win, Alex Cora gets a huge job as the head coach of the Boston Red Sox, and he promptly bulldozes the league. The Red Sox had a better season even than the Astros did the year before that. They also went.
That team was stacked.
That team was
loaded.
Loaded.
But he came out of nowhere for that job.
He sure did. And that was because of his success in Houston. And felt like deservedly so.
Yeah.
And he did his job. He showed up. He was a Latino manager that showed up and got busy.
Yep.
He had a diverse team that he brought together. He actually helped assemble those pieces. It was huge. And they won, and they beat the crap out of the Dodgers in 5. And they had the home field advantage. They took 2 in Boston. The Dodgers got 1 in LA, and then they blew 1 that was huge.
Oh,
that was awful.
Awful.
And then the rest is history. Well, now they're saying that Alex Cora was actually the mastermind of the whole, at least this is how they're painting him. Alex Cora is getting painted as the mastermind of the entire scheme, and he's been punished by resigning from his Red Sox post
severely.
Yeah, which we all know.
Severely.
Well, they say there's more coming.
They agreed to part ways.
Same thing happened to Carlos Beltran, who was a player at the time. Now, here's the last thing that I want to do. The whole thing got the lid blown off by a pitcher on the 2017 squad named Mike Friars, who did not make, geez, tell us how you really feel, who did not make the playoff roster, which I think had a lot to do with this thing. I'll never front on that.
Got the woman scoring syndrome.
He does. He has that scoring woman syndrome. And then, now the only person that has spoken about this since then that was on the team is former Astros pitcher Dallas Keuchel. Let's hear what Dallas Keuchel has to say, because I think it's super relevant to what we're about to talk about.
When the stuff was going on, it was never intended to be what it's made to be right now. And I think when stuff comes out about things that happen during the course of a big league ball season, it's always blown up to the point of, oh my gosh, this has never happened before. I mean, I'm not going to go into specific detail, but during the course of the playoffs in 2017, everybody was using multiple signs. I mean, for factual purposes, when there's nobody on base, when in the history of Major League Baseball has there been multiple signs? So you can go back and watch film of every team in the playoffs. There was probably 6 out of 8 teams using multiple signs. So it's just what the state of baseball was at that point in time. Was it against the rules? Yes, it was. And I personally am sorry for what's come about, the whole situation. But it is what it is, and we got to move past that. So I never thought anything would have come like it did, and I myself am sorry, but we got to move on.
What did you think?
Well, the age-old tale of, hey, don't tip your pitches, don't use ABC signs. It holds true even to right now. I think the guys are now starting to try to get smarter about how they use signs, how they communicate, but you're leaving yourself out. As a pitcher, you're on the island by yourself. So any motion that kind of perks the interest of hitters or this or that, some of those really good hitters are gonna pick up on stuff more so than other hitters, and so on and so forth. No person is created equal, but at the same time, with extra help, it does make it a lot easier. Now, to the extent of the whole situation back then, I can tell you that not every game there was signs being stolen. Some guys did a really good job, and sometimes we did as a group have signs, but we still couldn't hit the pitcher. So it wasn't like every game we had everything going on. So at that point, that's when the whole system, it really worked a little bit, but at the same time, there was a human element where some guys were better than our hitters.
You know there's a lot of other teams, like you just kind of said that.
That's also the other side of the equation is, hey, I know these teams are using multiple signs. What are they doing those for? So, I mean, it just happened to come out with the Astros, and like I said, there's a lot of people that are sorry in that organization, including myself, for what happened. Did pitchers benefit from any of that? I mean, not really. But at the same time, we might have had a few runs more per game. In my instance, I did not. I was actually pretty mad about that, so that's kind of that. I didn't really enjoy that sometimes, but it is what it is, and it just happened to come out that Mike said something, and who knows? I mean, I don't think anybody else is going to come out and say something from other teams. I mean, they see what happens now.
If it was a tie.
All right, let's get into it. So, as we see now,
let's have a deep conversation.
Let's have a deep conversation first and foremost, because Dallas Keuchel has shown himself to be a bigot and has said that no one is created equal. Really? You didn't hear him say it?
No one's created equal. And we didn't benefit a lot. Pitchers didn't benefit. Just a few more runs a game. Because it's not like keeping score is part of the game. It's not like score matters.
Oh,
and
those scoundrel pitchers.
Things.
So, all right, let's get into it. Now, I'm gonna just say my piece. Well, go ahead.
We
know where you are. Go ahead.
No, let's bounce.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. You got it.
I'm saying that once again, it's overblown. Just like he said, you have to hit the pitch. I spoke to a Hall of Famer just last week. I told you, and he told me, he said, yeah, they took it to the next level. He said, but guess what, son? You still have to hit the ball. And that's the bottom line. There has been, everybody goes to the batting cage all the time. You know what pitch is coming out of that batting cage at what speed, and you would be lucky. Most of the people, the general population would be lucky to hit 3 or 4 of the balls hard. In the show, it's not going to be, even if I know a fastball is coming, does not mean that I'm going to square it up. It does not mean that I'm going to be, I don't know what location, what quadrant, there are variables there that really stop you from just being able to dominate the game. Just like he said, even when they knew what pitchers were coming, sometimes they couldn't do anything about it. And I've watched footage when they were banging the cans and the dude still struck out.
I'm not going to argue that.
All right, Fish, lay it on us.
All right, so here's the thing. Yes, you still have to hit the ball. But it's like when people talk to me about steroids and they're like, well, you still had to hit the ball.
Yes, you did. But you got it. Once you did hit the ball.
Yeah, it went a lot farther and you recovered a lot faster. It's not like you can't say that there's no benefit. Otherwise, they wouldn't have wasted so much time.
Yeah, well, there is a benefit. But you know what? This whole thing of being overblown about real time, it would defeat the purpose of having signs if you're not going to use them real time. What's the purpose of having the sign? When I'm standing at second base and I'm throwing the guy a sign, if you're at the plate, I'm giving you the sign. I'm telling you, it's even more effective when I'm giving you the location and the pitch.
Agreed.
Hold on a second.
But they're saying
let's go step by step because you like to steamroll that. And let me tell you something. Let's break that down. That's not by any means the same because there's a way that the game polices itself in that.
Yeah.
If you throw the sign from second base to me in the box and the catcher figures it out, I get hit.
Right.
Maybe.
And in theory, that means you're going to stop throwing the signs. I'm going to ask you to not throw the signs because I don't want to get hurt.
Or we're going to wait for you to come up.
Or we're going to wait for you to come up.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because chances are I'm going to get hit.
Because here's what I'm going to do when I was a middle infielder. I'm going to come over to you and say, so T.
Right. How long you want to do this?
I'm just going to say, so T, you know you have to bat again today, right?
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Then do you want some or not?
Right.
And if it's worth it, go ahead.
Yeah, but there's creative ways of doing it, and
that's agreed.
Yeah, and everybody is blowing this out of proportion. I think that baseball actually likes a little bit of this, but we have to go to the grassroots of things. Our society is built around cheating. Everybody is incentivized by cheating.
You have no breach. Now,
how are we going to decide who we punish for cheating? You know, we have A-Rod who cheated. We give him a multi-million-dollar contract.
The $520 million off of baseball wasn't enough.
We have the president that cheats, and he gets to be the president. We have
among other things.
Pitchers cheat. They put pine tar on their neck all the time. Nobody
hold on. The pine tar on the neck, though.
That's not overrated.
Hold on. Cold weather. That's more for batter safety. That's the one thing. When people get crazy about that, I'm like, he didn't break off a crazy curveball because he had pine tar. He kept himself from putting it in your ear hole. Like,
yeah, but that's not all the time, though. A lot of pitchers just like that. Jake Peavy, like we were just talking about earlier. A lot of the guys back in the day, they manipulate seams.
Yep.
They cut
Yep.
the ball.
Yep.
They put foreign substances all over the ball, and then now, that's cheating.
And the guys that have been, and the guys that were caught doing that were punished. What
No.
we're talking about, you keep going with the but. And the but that you always
there's not
in
a
is
but.
there's an advantage, but they still had to hit the ball. Or well, you could do it at when I'm on second base, but I don't know what quadrant. Hey man,
No, I can tell you where it's going if I'm giving you a sign from second base. And
okay,
this is not the first time.
But nobody's disputing any of that.
This
Nobody
is not the first.
that.
But this is not the first time that this has happened in baseball. One of the biggest plays in baseball history has happened with them stealing signs.
Yeah. Which is heard around the world.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, agreed. But
that's not with a camera.
right. Well,
What they had back then was what?
They had cameras back then. That's how everybody saw the shot heard around the world.
No, the polo grounds, they used not binoculars, but a microscope.
Yeah, and this is where you start getting into that fine line between the game and essentially being artificially enhanced.
Right. I agree with that.
And that's the thing. So, like, every high school team on the planet tries to tip pitches to their batters in this country.
Yes.
Everyone.
Yes, sure
as a former high school coach, people were yelling track, home, all people come up with.
On our school,
okay,
it was
Fish, let's go.
Your first name or your last name, depending on the thing.
No,
I used to hate that. Because me
too.
I hated that.
Well, my problem is half the guys aren't good enough to hit their locations anyway.
Exactly.
So I'm like, you give me a bunch of garbage, it's not going to help me.
It's not going to help me.
And
you're getting me geared up for it. That's not my process.
And I'm a see and react guy. Me
too.
I'm more of a like Tony Gwynn kind of like
let me
see and react to the ball.
Me too. Me too.
And I was
and I'm always looking fastball.
Yeah, well, and I'm aggressive
and I
in it,
adjust.
right?
Yeah.
So, fine. Here's where I have the problem with what happened. Where it transitions for me is when you're relaying signs using real-time cameras.
Real-time cameras.
And now some allegations that you may have had buzzers and things on.
Oh, yeah, that's the piece that we did. I'm sorry. I let everybody down.
Right?
I forgot about that. Sorry.
There's nothing to
He
substantiate.
wasn't saying his shirt was cold.
Come
it's cold.
on.
Mi camisa. No, mi camisa. No, not today.
He said, I'm wearing a piece. You can read his lips. So the last piece that I'm sorry for the listener. This is my bad. I'm so excited to get into the conversation. The last piece that was actually rose this thing really to the next level of evidence was when Jose Altuve hit the walk-off home run against Aroldis Chapman, who arguably is the best closer of his generation, and one of the best closers ever because he's the hardest thrower ever. He went deep on a 3-2 pitch or 2-2 pitch.
Like three.
It was two strikes for sure.
It was two strikes for sure.
Yeah.
Which with Aroldis Chapman is a problem.
Yeah.
And also because Aroldis Chapman is actually effectively wild.
Yes.
Because he throws really hard and he doesn't know where the ball's going. So how are you going to know where it's going? Jose Altuve hits the home run. It's a walk-off home run. You guys can watch the clip. We'll play it now for you guys if you want to see the video. Jose Altuve, when he's coming home, the team is already celebrating and dancing at home plate. Altuve closes his shirt like he is a victim.
He says,
pulling it together. Yeah.
Like in Spanish, my
and,
shirt.
And he wags his finger.
Says, don't do it. And then he grabs.
His shirt. And then he crosses home plate. The team starts to go crazy. He runs a 4-1-40 into the dugout and comes back out immediately in a T-shirt.
Yep.
And Ken Rosenthal jammed him up.
Yeah.
And said, hey, man, wow, you really need to get to the dugout. What was up with the shirt?
Yeah, what's with the jersey?
What's with the jersey?
It's special.
And he said, no, it's my wife. You know, I don't know, I'm shy. I don't want to get in trouble.
Yeah. And then
real weak excuse.
And then the argument is, well, in the playoff series before, they ripped my shirt off me and my wife didn't like that.
No, my wife didn't like that.
Now, look.
Come on, man.
In that moment,
that's the last thing you're thinking of.
Listen, everybody.
He loves his wife.
Hey, everybody loves their wife.
Dude loves his wife, man.
Everybody loves their wife. But in that moment,
come on, dude.
Come on now.
Are you trying to?
The best husband in the world.
Hey,
he is the best husband in the world. You thought about it. What are you guys talking about? You guys are ridiculous. What are you, a bunch of haters?
He is so full of crap.
This dude loves his wife, and you guys want to bring him down.
He's so full of it.
I can't even go there with you, T. That's the worst defense I've ever heard.
It's the truth. He said it. I'm just backing him up. They didn't find a buzzer. How are they going to find a buzzer?
MLB, he took it off.
MLB. Well, you guys are assuming. You're assuming.
Okay. Well, this is the next piece of it, which was also the next piece of the thing, which was. Oh, you said I made my own doc. Which the next piece of the issue was now you got burner accounts with Carlos Beltran's niece.
Yeah.
With
That's just people making
with
stuff
Scott
up.
Brocious' son. Is it because one of the burner accounts said that Mike Trout has an exemption for HGH, which has been a rumor
Forever.
forever.
I've heard it
He's
myself
For a
personally.
thyroid.
for a thyroid issue,
And
we've been hearing that from various players in the league that we heard for years. We never wanted to spread that as a rumor, and now that that's out there, now Mike Trout is laid into the fold. Mike Trout had to wake up to this and be like, wait a minute,
What does it have to do with me?
What did
I have a condition.
And he's like,
I have a condition.
My thyroid is killing me, dude.
It's killing me, dude. I'm gonna go hit the weights just to make sure my thyroid stays right.
Got to keep it under control. I want to hit him like Andre the Giant.
but this is the thing, right? So baseball has, and this is where T, I'll give you a little bit. Baseball has a history. Nobody talked about greenies for years. When I was in Major League clubhouses, late 80s, early 90s, people using greenies, people using amphetamines.
Yeah.
Right.
Par for the course.
Like in the beginning, steroids, nobody said anything.
Because it was good for the game.
It was
Not
good for the
good in
game.
the Coke.
Right? Well, and this is the thing. Where do you start drawing that line?
Well, this is the support team thing.
This is
that
my point.
We want to start with
incentivize-
right and wrong.
Exactly. We have to, the Astros are wrong because they went too far. I'm not saying that they weren't wrong and they had a slight advantage, but they do have, and they did have the better team. But to say that another team would have beat them because when you watch the pitch that Clayton Kershaw threw was a meatball. When you
Stop
watch
it. The pitch? Clayton
the pitch,
Kershaw.
go look at that pitch right now.
Clayton Kershaw.
That's a meatball. That means
Clayton
And you said it
Kershaw.
was 90-something miles an hour. That pitch was 87 miles an hour center cut.
That's because that was the
that's
cutter.
plus.
No.
That's
Hold
plus.
on.
You're never supposed to throw a pitch center cut. I don't care if you're in
I
single
got a
A.
piece, but go ahead.
Go ahead. You.
Okay, so here's the one thing about Kershaw. That's the person that we really should be talking about.
This is what I said.
Because this is the difference. Because look at his legacy.
Yeah.
100%.
2 years in a row, this guy takes it. And
Yep.
he stands out in front of everybody. And he does.
And he wears it.
He does the right thing. He stands
He
up.
sure
and
does.
He
And
says,
says, I would have pitched better. We probably would have won the game.
I let down my team.
And I'm the leader of the team,
he-
and this is my job.
Right. And he owns it. And
Yeah.
owns it in a way where he should be revered. Right? Because
I agree.
He's
I
an
agree.
all-time great.
I agree.
I'm a big
Are you
time
crazy?
Kershaw fan.
I haven't seen any, but you've rarely seen somebody dominate like Clayton Kershaw dominated for a good 6 years.
Right. But then he also has owned some of these struggles. Now, here's
Right.
the question. Are those his struggles?
This is a problem for me.
Or is it because people cheated and manipulated the game and knew what was coming?
Now,
and cheated on a
let
pitch?
me get my
They
piece.
still
Let
gotta
me get
hit
my
it.
piece.
Well,
Let
they
me
still
get-
gotta hit it.
No.
But
Let me
I'm
get my
gonna-
piece in.
I'm
Let me
gonna
get
tell
my
you-
piece in. Let me
but
get my
you get your
piece in.
piece in, but let me tell you
So,
something. That
no,
pitch
let
was
me get
center
my
cut.
piece in. Man,
Center cut.
whether center cut or not, in game one of that World Series at Chavez Ravine, Clayton Kershaw dominated that lineup.
Yes.
7+ with 13 Ks or something like that.
it was
11 or 13 Ks. Game 5 comes, same lineup, same dude, blows 2 separate 4-run leads. 1 3-run lead, 1 4-run lead. Now, okay, one pitch that you're talking about may have been center cut. I'm not saying that he didn't throw a meatball up there.
That was
but
the Gurriel.
one pitch that he threw that was center cut has absolutely nothing to do
That was a
and
3-run
makes,
bomb.
and makes no sense. Yeah, but the other 2 guys had to get on base, T. You act like you don't know the game.
T.
And then Clayton Kershaw comes back to Chavez Ravine in game 7. And guess what? He dominates the Astros again for 6 innings.
Well,
What a
this-
surprise.
This is the one thing when you look at a guy like Clayton.
Off of 2 days rest.
If you know that curveball's coming
You can hit it.
and you don't have to hit it,
You sit on it. Yeah,
Right.
you just
No,
spit
you
on
don't take it.
You spit,
but-
yeah.
but
You
most of the time, people just took it.
Yeah, you just take it. You
And
wait
that's the
for
thing.
the
In
for
that
the cheese.
game, they did not go after his curveballs.
Right.
So if they knew it was coming because they altered the game,
What else can we say
and
that
this-
they did?
and this is
did
what
you
I
see
said.
Stroman? Did you see
Yeah.
what Stroman put
Yeah,
up?
yeah,
You see
yeah.
what Stroman put up?
Which part? He put up a few things.
He's devastated.
yeah.
Talking about how he laid off his nasty business.
Yeah.
Well, and this is my thing. So not just the Dodgers, right? You heard CC Sabathia talking
CeCe.
about how they had it because what CC said
Everybody's
is
saying that.
we won every game in
At
our
home.
building.
And we lost every game there.
And there.
And low-key, they only lost on one pitch. You could say they lost on one pitch, even though they still could have beat them if Gary Sanchez could catch the ball.
Please. Please.
So I guess that's
scenarios.
and that's Astros' fault too, right?
Well, and
No,
again,
but you
it
need to
takes
stop
the game.
acting like it doesn't matter.
So I guess-
this is the problem. You keep acting like it doesn't matter, and it matters.
And this is my problem, that the punishment isn't significant enough. You talked earlier about how we reward cheaters
in society.
But here's
in
the
American
But here's
society.
the problem. This is my same problem I have with the people who use the steroids, is the punishment isn't big enough not to deter the next
This is what we talked. That's what he's saying.
It's the high school kid who's going to destroy
I completely
themselves.
agree.
If you look at Alex Rodriguez, let's look at the trajectory of Alex Rodriguez. Alex Rodriguez, as far as we know, has been juicing since he was 16.
Yes.
Yep.
So down there in Miami, at University of Miami, I went and worked out down there with a couple of major leaguers. Let me work out with him when I was living down there. The field is Alex Rodriguez Field. He donated the money for the field. He goes to the major leagues. He lives the dream. He makes $520 million in baseball checks.
Yep.
Even though he puts up some of the most gaudy, obscene numbers the game has ever seen.
Perverted.
He just sickening.
Amazing.
Amazing.
Amazing athlete.
He's never clutch. One time he came through clutch, but 98% of the time he was not clutch. He gets found out on 4 different occasions that he cheated.
He
throws them under the bus.
Yeah, that people are mad at the pitcher.
The journalists, the pitchers, all kind of people.
Right, people are mad at all those. Nobody got mad at Alex.
Nobody got mad at Alex.
Canseco took one.
Canseco's the only guy that took one that where you can feel like the punishment was like equal. But the problem with his was it's not equal to what they're punishing other guys.
Right.
Well, this is the problem.
And then they reward Alex Rodriguez just to finish
But
it off.
this is the
Then
problem.
Now Alex Rodriguez, we have to listen to him.
He's the
be
face.
A terrible announcer every Sunday on Sunday Night Baseball.
He's the face.
But this is the
baseball.
problem. This is the problem around across the board in life, because Tom Brady, Deflategate, the guy,
Yeah.
the guy,
and the other thing that they did.
Wait, the guy that deflated the ball supposedly is the one who gets in trouble with the camera guy. The camera guy gets in trouble. The camera guy is that no one. I got a minimum wage job. Why am I out there getting in trouble?
Wait.
Every time somebody does something, we always blame the next guy. We never blame
find
that
the fall
superstar.
guy.
We
We
never
find
blame
the
the
fall guy.
superstar
Right.
athlete. They have to be responsible. These guys have to stand up and say, "Hey, I agree that the Astros are wrong."
There's
but
too
I
much
also
money
know
involved.
that
Now we're
from playing.
going.
But I also know from playing the game that when I throw signs, I was throwing them real time. It was not, oh, well, I'm going to give it to you a few seconds later. No, I'm going to tell you right now. And so the Astros just did it a tenth of a second quicker. Now, the information that I've read, it gave the Astros 0.35% lift on their average, which is, better than nothing.
Okay, so now I'll give you the best defense for you.
Give me the best defense.
So the best defense is,
Your Honor, Michael Fishman has a motion.
your best defense is the home and road splits for Altuve.
And all of the Astros
Well, the home and road splits, though, for Altuve
are equal.
that season, actually, he was better on the
He's
road.
better on the road.
Which blew
And he's
my-
a monster.
Yeah,
But all of them. Look at George Springer's numbers.
But by a lot. And I was like,
Yeah.
wow,
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
30 points in average.
No, and that is his best defense. I agree with that. Is the best defense, which is the fact that the Houston Astros had a monster squad.
Yeah.
Yes.
Have a monster
yeah,
squad.
they're
today.
gifted. They're all good.
Yeah.
But
They're all good. Nobody's saying these guys can't play baseball.
No,
That's not what I'm saying at all.
you have to be skilled enough to be able to put stuff into play. I mean,
Exactly.
that's the thing.
See, but
Anybody's playing the game.
this is where you lose me, is because we're talking about the cream of the crop.
Right.
And this is the same problem that I had with Barry Bonds juicing.
Okay.
You are
Because he was
maybe
good and
the
it made
best
him
player
great.
in baseball without the juice.
Oh, no, he was.
He wasn't better
He
than
wasn't better than
King
King Griffey Jr.
He wasn't better than King Griffey Jr.
But say you preferred Barry's work.
500.
Say you, but that's with the juice.
No, that was before. If you read the worst reports of Barry Bonds, because I knew Barry a little.
It depends on when you consider him starting to juice.
if you
when he went
read-
to San Francisco, his numbers went.
Yeah, but
Bonkers.
He didn't
juice till
he wasn't connected
post-late
to them
90s.
until late 90s.
Yeah.
If you read the worst reports, it was because of Lance Armstrong's people who were in that area, and it was after McGuire and Sosa.
Yeah, it was the McGuire and Sosa thing
So
that
if
rubbed
you-
him the wrong
right.
way.
So, and here's what he said,
Which
and
sucks.
I'll never forget, because I heard him make the case, which is probably the most damning evidence. Was he said, look, he goes, oh, you guys like that? If
You watch this.
If you guys are okay with that, then just wait to see what I do.
You wait till I put these 73 bombs
Now-
and 200 walks on you.
Now, He almost never missed.
Are you almost?
That's
we
crazy.
were at the stadium
Yeah.
when he hit 66 or 67.
Right behind the dish.
Right
Yeah.
behind the dish at Chavez Ravine. He saw the ball so well,
Yep.
he made us see the ball from 20 rows back.
Oh no, he was amazing.
It was amazing to watch. I've never seen anything like that.
I was lucky enough to talk hitting with Ted Williams
Oh, wow.
and with Gwynn, right?
Wow, both of them.
But But Bonds was the guy who said the things that made the biggest
Impact.
light bulb moments for me. Because he said things like, all you got to do, can you catch the ball? How many balls do you drop in the outfield? I'm like, none. He goes, then just catch it with your bat. And he used to do this thing where he would I'm just going to do this and catch the ball. And you're like,
And then he's on the juice and it makes the ball
well,
take
then
off.
you're like, damn, that's easy.
Yeah.
Right? But
I haven't spoken to anybody affiliated with Barry Bonds that had anything negative to say about
love it.
his baseball, about him or his baseball acumen.
No,
nobody.
I-
Nobody.
I'll tell you.
Pitchers who he took deep
who hated what
were
he
like,
did to him.
man, there was no answer for Barry.
No.
Well, yeah, and the only reason he's not in the Hall is because he was a dick to the
Let's
writers.
speak about that.
And
Okay.
Which
Which is
makes
unfair.
the Hall a sham. A sham.
Okay, but this is my thing, right? You guys both say King Griffey.
Yeah.
I'm not going to knock King Griffey, but here's the one thing we got to be honest about. So Barry plays in Pittsburgh, has fights with Leland over and over, well documented. Comes as a free agent and goes home.
Right.
He goes home to complete the legendary outfield in his family.
Right.
Godfather in center
Willie
field,
Mays,
dad,
Bobby Bonds.
dad in right. I'm in left. I'm going home to complete my legacy.
Ultimate.
right?
Yeah.
Now, Barry started his career with the media hating him. Now, I'm not saying he didn't fan that fire big time.
Yeah, he did.
But his dad grew up with racism, and his dad grew up never being the next Willie Mays.
Right.
Right.
And he
Despite his talent.
And he got bombed on his whole career. So, which kind of galvanized that friendship. But Barry grows up in an environment where you're damned if you do, damned if you don't, and you're damned no matter what. It's like everybody made a big thing about his recliner and having
Yeah.
2 lockers.
And turned his back
Kent-
on him.
Jeff Kent had the same thing. I don't know why no one ever mentioned that.
No. I listen, dude.
You know.
I mean, we could skip ahead in that story.
Yeah, it
I have a problem with the writers being who
Decide who goes to the
that's a problem for me off the top.
Because
But
you're
King-
talking about something personal, what he's done on the field. That has nothing to do with his baseball game.
But my whole thing is King
Nothing to
Griffey
do with his
Jr.
game.
forced his way out of Seattle. No one ever talks about him forcing his way to Cincinnati. They had to give up half a team.
He might have low key wanted to leave because everybody in the clubhouse in Seattle was on the needle, though.
yeah.
but again-
and the media started running him down, and he was playing on AstroTurf.
Well,
Which they
shortened his
lied to
career.
him.
Yes, I agree.
They lied to him in Seattle and told him they were going to get rid of the turf.
Agreed.
And then Mark Schott lied to
I
him.
know. Right?
And got rid of the players in
And
Cincinnati.
then got rid of and then he went out to Cincinnati. He
And
was alone.
He was out there naked.
And he goes,
And still said, all right, I'm good for 55, 56.
yeah. But again, this is one of those things where it's like,
He wasn't better than King Griffey for no other reason.
Defense.
His defense.
yeah.
Barry's defense has
No.
always been suspect.
And
They gave him a lot of gold gloves because he was the best offensively and because he was beautiful.
The arm wasn't good.
The arm wasn't good.
Now, Junior ran down balls,
and can throw the ball from center
especially
field to
before
home.
he tore up his ankle
Oh,
on the center field fence.
You ain't seen it like that.
Oh, man.
You have to be Willie Mays to talk in that category.
Yeah, and I'll give him that. He had him on
Nobody
defense, no
went to-
question.
oh, man.
And as far as fun to watch,
Oh my goodness.
Nobody was better than nobody because he was having fun.
Still
Barry
now.
Bonds looked like he was mad when he played.
okay, but this is the thing as a player, right? What kind of player are you, right? Because some people have to play pissed off.
Some people do.
Some people have to be jerks.
Some
Like-
people do.
Like Kobe wasn't nice.
It was
No.
not nice. I didn't care for Kobe's work
Right?
either.
But that's what
I
I'm
respect
saying.
it, but I didn't care for Kobe's
But
work.
that's what I'm saying. So like it wasn't necessarily my style, but I do understand that's the way he had to play.
It's how he had to play.
Right. Like that's his style.
But Michael Jordan was mean and cussed out referees and blah, blah, blah.
Teammates
But you
and
still
everything
like
else.
watching
But
Michael
then-
Jordan play because you know what?
Yeah.
He was
wasn't
passionate.
playing necessarily. He still looked like he was having fun.
Right.
But it was an adult fun.
Yeah.
It was,
Yeah.
it was a dominant R-rated fun as opposed to like Magic Johnson was having like a Disneyland
yeah.
fun. Like, hey,
Watch me go
showtime.
that way and that way. Well, and this is the funny thing too about Jordan is, see, Jordan knew how to work the camera.
He knew. He knew.
He knew how to just break your spirit.
Yeah.
And do horrible things and talk terrible things about your children, and then turn around to the camera and be like,
I'm
"Have
beautiful.
a good game."
Yeah, exactly.
You're like,
yeah.
"Did he just?"
And he had the machine with / behind him.
Yes.
With the Nike machine, which
Yes.
was huge. But back to Bonds. This is the problem that I had to get us back where we were. That's the problem I always had with Bonds is that Man, in 93, when Barry Bonds goes to San Francisco and he puts up 40-40 and like 120, something crazy. I think he had maybe 313, 43, 40, and 120. Something stupid numbers.
Yeah, crazy.
Like, some insane numbers. That was all him.
Yep.
He was that good.
Yep.
And honestly, to me, he dropped down, even if we keep his juice numbers, he dropped down as an overall player because
he couldn't run.
He couldn't run. Barry was he was a 4.5 tool player.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then he lost that ability.
He got to be bulked up and he couldn't even move. He couldn't steal bags anymore.
Well, I just always,
I loved his work in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
With Bobby Bonilla and Andy Van Slyke.
Man, I was around those teams.
Man, Jay King.
Oh, yeah. And I was around the Pirates organization
Doug
right
Drayback.
after all those guys left.
Oh, man.
Oh, that had to be dark.
Oh, it was dark. But Jason Kendall, there were some good guys.
Jason Kendall.
There were some good guys.
Jason Kendall.
But, you look at Bonds and you go, if you had ever played on a team in San Francisco, we're Dodger fans, right?
He was on the team.
There weren't very many.
They should have Jeff Kent.
They should have beat the Angels. That team should have beat the Angels.
They could have.
And no,
Barry Bonds choked.
Barry Bonds choked.
He did.
He tried to glove a ball off the wall that everybody that's ever
you Fisher, man.
I love him, but I'm like,
oh no. I mean, I didn't.
He was another guy that couldn't take pressure like Alex Rodriguez.
He's another guy that couldn't take the pressure.
Sid Bream scores on you.
Come on, man.
From deep short.
Come on, man. You can't let Sid Bream do that
with the bum wheel.
Come on, man.
You can't. You got to throw Sid out.
His knee brace covered his whole half his
It sure did.
This was terrible. Dude. I was like, come on, man.
His whole leg was a knee brace.
He pretty much was on crutches. It was like that thing
crawled across the plate, man. I was like, wow, get him, Barry.
Deep shortstop.
Yeah, that was bad.
That was the worst.
You can't
That was the worst. And that's good scouting though, because they sent Sid Bream.
Yeah.
They said, like, run on him.
Barry Bonds ain't got no arm.
Run on him.
Yeah.
From shortstop.
But see, so where do we draw this line? My thing is, so you tell me, because you're defending the Astros.
I'm not. Wait a minute. hold on.
That's how it comes off. Wait a minute.
Okay.
I'm not going to say that.
That's how it comes off.
I don't care if it comes off like that, though.
Off.
Because it's overblown and overrated because all the rest of the teams out there are cheating as well. And everybody's acting like they're not cheating and stealing signs, and they are.
The problem with
that nobody else been got caught. That's not
I didn't say that.
What are you going to say?
And I don't even know who that is.
I don't know. That's you when he complained.
The problem is that sort of thinking is the exact thinking that Barry Bonds used to say, well, watch what I do when I get on the juice. That's the problem.
Well, no.
And this is what's wrong. You just use the Patriots as the example. So, here's the thing. This is my problem in sports. Is sports are supposed to be, as people who played, right? They're supposed to be a microcosm of society.
And that is it.
And they are.
That is wow.
And that's the point. And they are.
Exactly.
And that's the problem.
And it is unequal,
right?
Just like society.
Right.
That's wow.
So the question is,
wow.
Where do we start putting limits on it?
There has to be boundaries.
Yes, there has to be boundaries, and there has to be higher expectations. Like, look,
the role model expectations.
We have public jobs.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I can't go do anything I want anytime I want.
I cannot.
And expect that there are no consequences for it.
Right.
And this is one of those things.
But as you know, if you have the same public job that we have and you are at the highest level,
yes,
you actually can.
Well, you can.
Now you can, because they incentivize. Yes. They literally incentivize everybody doing the wrong thing.
Terrible action.
Terrible action, and they reward you for it. You are being rewarded when you do something out of line. A la whatever Floyd Mayweather does, and Adrian Broner, and beating up women, and you can do all that, and then they just hit.
Why we got to do this?
We got beating up women, and we're doing like this, and then I'm on Dancing with the Stars.
He was. They were though.
Exactly.
They were.
But this is what I'm saying.
They were. Good point.
There's A-Rod has to be shut down. You know what I'm saying? We can't put him on ESPN every Sunday to be the face of baseball because
at the same time ostracizing Pete Rose.
Exactly.
Well, and this is the thing. Well, first of all,
who made the argument that is still my greatest defense of his, which is I never bet on the Reds to lose.
Well, that's it. Right. Well,
I can understand that.
Me too. Every coach in the world expects to win every night. If you don't, you're in the wrong place. Mm-hmm. So
boxers, as we know.
Yeah.
Bet on themselves
all the
time.
And
they talk about it.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, man, side bet.
Yeah, I get him out around the 10th round. You're like, really?
They'll tell us. I'm going to get him out of there and you probably want to bet the under. You want to bet the over if it's 7 or 8.
Yeah, because
I get him out of there around 10.
Yeah,
I got that's
And speaking of gambling, this is where I feel bad because I am a semi-gambler because the gamblers got hurt, but we have to also expect this kind
You
of
are gambling.
Yeah, that I am gambling, and this is the reward for gambling. You know what I'm saying?
Another suspect activity.
And I have to be responsible and take that loss.
Wow, that's deep.
You know, but
So
everybody.
is it an asterisk? Is it?
Well, you see what the Dodgers just said. I was just looking right now. The Dodgers just said, "Man, we don't even want no fake banner."
No,
I don't blame them.
Well, they can't take it, and that's the thing. As a player, you don't want that.
No,
No, you don't want that.
I don't want
Justin,
you to print
Justin
me up
Turner,
some ring.
here's a quote. We don't want a trophy. We don't want a fake banner hanging in our stadium. We didn't earn that. We didn't catch that final out to win a championship. We don't want that. We just want to move forward in 2020, get prepared this season, and do it the right way and get all those experience, get to catch that last out, get to dogpile on the field, put on those shirts, put on those hats, have someone be the MVP and get a car, be in the locker room, spray the champagne, get size for rings, take that parade that LA is dying to have, and have that parade in downtown LA and do it the right way. How about
Well,
JT?
he said do it the
Good
right
for
way.
him. Good
But
for
when
him.
are the Dodgers going to do it the right way? They don't play baseball the right way, so you can't expect them to win.
But what does that have to? You're
What are you talking about?
taking a different.
Is it
off-ramp.
totally
Totally. Thank you for speaking logically.
So this is the thing, right? I love what he said, but then the question is, are we ever going to hold people to the standard that we supposedly live by? No. And this is the problem.
I don't believe.
No, and that's
I don't believe that. I don't think it's,
most people in our country and a lot of people around the world feel that way all the time. Like
Definitely
that's not-
right now.
It's not ever going to happen. It's not
Yeah.
going to happen in my lifetime.
So I might as well. That's 100%.
Right, but
then you perpetuate the cycle.
Well, that's the
Exactly,
thing.
and that's up to you to make that kind of call if you want to live that kind of life.
Well,
when I get my dub, I want to know that I didn't cheat, I didn't twist any rules.
Yeah.
Me myself personally, I never wanted signs. They always mess me up.
Yeah.
I like to look
Yep.
at the seams of the ball, and even when I sit on the bench and talk to guys, they say, "Hey, what pitch was coming? How do you know what pitch?" I told them, I said, "I picked the ball up out of his hand. You can see the seams on the ball." Oh, really? And guys, literally, they play professional baseball. A lot of them don't.
No,
know how
some
to
of them
look
don't know.
and you're blown away.
Well, sometimes though, this is the thing I'll tell you as a coach, right? 20 years as a coach. Sometimes dumb is a gift because
Depending on your athletic level.
Yeah, because if you're athletic and you're dumb, sometimes you don't think twice about
And you
stuff.
react.
And you don't carry any of the things that
Right.
smart people do.
Yeah.
If I could
Yeah,
tell you,
you don't
how many
overanalyze.
smart athletes. I used to work with people who got the yips.
Uh-huh.
Every one
Oh,
of them,
wow.
every
Man.
one of them was smart. I've had 8
Wow.
different people, right? And every time you're like, take me through this.
Chuck Knobloch, huh?
90% of it is mental, and everybody's arguing. Why can't you just do it? You're like,
It's easy to say.
you think that the person doesn't want to do it?
Right,
You
yeah,
think
yeah.
they want
Are
to
you
spike it at
insane?
their feet? Like, you think anybody goes up to home plate and wants to strike out?
Right.
Of course not.
Right.
But this is the thing: is sometimes dumb works in your favor, especially in kids.
I agree.
Because sometimes
Yeah.
with kids, they just but yep,
Yeah.
well that worked, right?
Do it again.
Dumb also can
Right?
forget.
Yes, dumb forgets.
Yeah.
I mean, Manny Ramirez was a great hitter and smart because he would bait you into throwing him the same pitch again. He wasn't as dumb as people
Right.
thought.
Yeah, he'll make
right?
it look. He'll put extras on it and
But
make it look.
David Ortiz is the same way.
Yep, but he was goofy enough to let you lull yourself into that and think he was dumb, right? Yeah, like,
But Manny was a juicer.
Man, he was a juicer.
and that's the thing, right? Here's my problem. This is the point for me is I want the punishment to be so severe. Like, A-Rod should have to do a commercial every Sunday about how
Every
kids shouldn't
Sunday.
ju- every
week.
Every week.
Every week that
But
he's
I
on
watch
television.
him berate other players.
Well, that's the
Which
thing.
is unreal.
And no one
The
buries him.
nerve.
They let him go.
You got
'cause
David Ortiz up there.
I'd be sitting
you
there
got
going,
Johnson. You got your nerve.
I'd be like, excuse me? I'd be like, can you take the needle out of your butt cheek and then
Then
tell
say
us something else?
Right, because you got a guy sitting down there in Double-A for about 5 years that can't get up because
Can't get up. He's
Because,
blocked.
because
No,
Alex
he
Rodriguez
can't
been
get
sitting
up.
up there with his $200 billion contract.
You can't get up.
Well, I mean, look.
And then you get to a point because of that crazy deal where you're too big to fail.
yes.
So then the system has to protect you so much because you're too big.
Like the Yankees let him breathe because they could have got that money back once they found out he was dirty, and they wouldn't do it once again.
But they're really this is where the Players Association, I have a hard time with this. Let's do something here as a Players Association. Like, none of the players have been punished.
Well, the Players Association did what they were supposed to do. This is where it becomes tricky
protected 'em, right?
lawyery is
Right, they
because
protect 'em.
they protected them by saying, you guys can talk with immunity, and that's the deal they made with the commissioners.
Right.
So now you got a whole bunch of former players who are now coaches that are not protected by the PA, and then you have a bunch of coaches and GMs like Lunau and Hinch who were at the house with us. I would love to have a conversation with those guys.
Well, see, now here's my problem with Hinch, though, right? Clearly, from Dallas Keuchel's statements, everybody in the world knew what was going on.
Oh, did you hear this? Though?
And he
Let me get
smashed
this.
the
Yeah, I was about to
TV
say
and
he smashed the TV
Right.
a couple times.
Okay.
Couple times.
So you got a decision.
He said he was really against it.
Because as a coach, you got a decision now. This is where you go to your boss. You say, here's the deal. I'm either going to have to step down if you have integrity. What you can't do is cry to me later and say, I shouldn't have done it. I didn't want to be a part of it. No, wait a minute. You enjoyed the benefit, right?
Well, this is Mike Fiers.
Because here's what he should have done. What he should have done is said,
Make it to the
he should have gone to the
postseason.
boss and he
Somebody
should have
gotta
said,
pay.
okay, here's the deal. You guys can do this. Alex Cora can run this if that's okay with all you guys. But I'm going to have to step down. And he could have stepped down and not disclosed why.
Yeah.
Right? And he could have just said, for personal reasons, because now here's the deal. That man's never getting a job again as
He's
a
out.
manager.
I think Cora's out.
I think he's going to get a job. I think he's going to get a job. Cora can go back and get him a job back at home and working, working and get him a gig and maybe work his way back into the league. But you're talking about AJ Hinch. All the players, they have what they call FU money. And so
Yes.
AJ Hinch is not getting paid as much as the players.
Yes.
So these guys can always,
Yes.
AJ Hinch can't take a loss like those guys.
No.
he can't take that loss.
He steps down and he's actually looking for work. Like,
Yeah,
he's
and maybe he
actually-
goes to the front. Maybe he'll get him a gig in the front office or something like that. But the guys are, and then if you,
Especially when you add one piece, I'm sorry to cut you off. One piece that I really we need to needle in on is what Dallas Keuchel said, which I thought was really telling and poignant, which was nobody else is going to come out and talk about this, but there is a reason that everybody was using multiple signs in multiple stadiums, and your team was probably cheating. It just hasn't been.
this is what I'm saying.
Well, Toronto.
The hypocrisy of it all.
Toronto, they
Yeah.
you
What
know,
happened
there's
in Toronto?
been
I'm
years
asleep.
for years they've been saying that there's a guy in center
Oh,
field
yeah.
who relays
At the
everything.
hotel.
Yeah.
Because they got that hotel at the thing.
And this is my thing. So I don't know if you've seen a bunch of colleges use it. Almost every high school in this country uses it now, where it's a grid on your arm. How long before we see that in Major League Baseball?
Yeah.
Where it's a grid on the guy's arm or in his glove, where
Or his hat.
it's A15. Okay, that's the pitch I'm throwing, because you can change the cards. I mean, I used to use it as a high school coach. And when I worked with colleges, we did it because people would come at the high school level. People would show up and record us to record our signs.
Oh, he
I
did
used to do it
scouting.
for,
For
Newport Harbor.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
And I would break down the kids and look at the
What was that
stances.
kid's name that was so nice? The lefty.
Paul Strong.
Paul Strong.
You're
Yeah. Nice swing.
Oh no! This
He's a pitcher.
the pitcher, this lefty, he got drafted by Texas. This kid, when I went there, I was scouting the game for Newport Harbor. He struck out the first 9 batters.
Did you ever see him swing?
No,
he can swing.
Yeah,
You know,
I did. see
He
him
had a
swinging.
pretty sweet
He sure
swing,
did.
but he was all or nothing. But it was a sweet
It was
swing.
sweet. But he can throw the ball though.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
he's like, man, you need to come out and watch this.
This kid
deal.
struck out the first 9 batters. They were going against Edison, I do believe.
It was Edison.
Yeah.
They were
Because
going
the
against
Edison had that other kid that got drafted by the A's.
Yep.
And they went head up, and Paul Strong struck out the first 9 batters. I was like,
They went
man,
at
this
it.
kid is
Yeah.
I
dealing.
think it was 1-0 to 6 or
See,
something like
There's
that.
nothing better than good baseball.
And I don't care what level it is.
But that's the thing. The one thing you can do is you can go to a high school, if the right teams are playing, you can see good baseball.
Oh, great
good.
baseball.
Are you crazy?
And at
Especially in
college,
Orange
man,
County.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Are
in
you
this
crazy?
area, you can see some just
Yeah, you
amazing.
see
And
some
you're like,
top-end baseball.
He's going to the show. He's going to the show. He's going to the show.
You get a car.
Yeah,
You get a car. You get a car. Yeah. Yeah, but they have to do something more so than just talk about the boundaries and everything. They have to get the game under control, but then they can't cannibalize themselves or throw themselves under the bus after they catch themselves. Just like this rumor with Mike Trout. We've been hearing about it for years, about him being on the juice, but nobody likes to talk about it. It's
Legally.
taboo. Legally. He's supposed to be legally doing it. And nobody can talk about it or speak on it. Even the guys who actually came out and said, "Oh yeah, we heard about it." Now they all came back. They recanted.
Yeah.
They had to recant because the
Trevor
league-
Bauer. Bauer came out and said something that he basically said that he had heard it.
I heard that. I didn't know.
No. I said if he has the
right now, why would you?
Yeah.
Come on, dude.
Well, T.O., tell me, what about all the guys using Adderall and using like
This is
ADHD? Because that's the other thing.
Come on, dude.
ADD, ADHD
To try to-
medication to focus
Yeah, to
and
focus.
to keep. Because
And we all know the game is about focus.
there's a bunch of guys using that, and that's the thing.
Guys,
But this is the hypocrisy.
and the money is so large that there's
Well, you
too
said-
much at stake.
Yeah, FU money.
That's what it is.
He said it, and this is the one thing.
And for certain guys, let's be real here. For certain guys, this is not just FU money. This is not just I grew up in Malibu and now I get to continue my lifestyle money. For a lot of guys, this is I'm hitting myself off the island.
Yes.
This is going to change the generations of
Yes.
my family.
Right.
Well, and that's the thing.
Not
about
maintain
it.
or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You
and
guys know what I'm
it's the
saying.
kids in the Dominican. It's the guys I played with who grew up, and you talk to them, they're like, "Yeah, I grew up playing with a milk carton for a glove."
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. Or
The Cuban kids.
yeah,
the
I mean,
Dominican kids.
And this is the thing: is the punishment has to be severe enough. So, like, here's my thing: first offense for like, if you're found doping, right? First offense should be a year suspension, and your contract.
Well, this is where it
you should
comes
send
in.
some of that money away. But here's my other part:
This is where the PA is too strong.
Well, this is also for me.
If that's possible to say.
This is my problem with the teams is. So, like, the Yankees as an organization never took it in the shorts for A-Rod and Pettit and all those guys.
No, we were talking about.
They need to be fined an equal
Exactly.
amount to what the guy is owed. And that should go to anti-doping for high school athletes
Wow, you
and
got it
college.
figured out,
Right?
huh?
Like,
Well, I like that.
take it and hit them and prevent some kid. Because here's my problem. Here's what nobody talks about. There's a lot of high school athletes who are doing all of this stuff right now. And a lot of them are tearing their bodies apart.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're
Exactly. Oh, yeah.
15, 16 years old trying to be that next guy. But
And
when
getting Tommy
I
John
was
when
about
they
to
don't
say,
need
get
it.
Tommy John when they don't need it to tighten up the screws.
Right. Or getting weird cancers
Yeah.
and
Oh,
weird
yeah.
diseases
Yeah.
and all kind because and this was the thing for me. When I was a player, I was a speed guy, right in the middle of the explosion, right? They'd say, hey, you know, if you could add a little power here, you got a chance to really do something special.
Right.
But you got to be able to hit at least 10, 15 home runs because it's not a speed game anymore.
Right.
And I'm like, at what cost? And you said it earlier. You have to live with yourself. You wanted to know if you won, that you won it the right way.
Right.
For me, again, and that's the conversation I had with my kids. It's the conversation that I have with players. But I don't know how you have that conversation with a kid on the island.
I'm not having that conversation.
No, and you can't justify that
in
to
real
him.
life. I was about to say, in real life, if anybody has again, it kind of goes back. It's all relative because it kind of goes back to the Barry Bonds thing. I hate people listen to the pod and they talk to us when they see us and like, man, you really hate A-Rod. You really hate Canelo.
No, I respect
you really
his-
hate blah 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 blah.
I respect those guys. I respect their skill. I just don't like.
I don't.
What
I
you
don't
did.
respect their skill
I don't.
because I haven't seen their skill.
I don't
Well,
know
I
their
agree.
skill.
I agree with that.
See, and this is the problem I had. I was really good, and I was overweight, and I learned how to play the game with my older brother, who and we could beat anybody, and I could personally beat anybody. I don't even care if you cheat. To be honest,
Yeah, right.
I'm
really doesn't matter.
I'm dialed. I'm really good at this because I've done the work.
Right.
The idea that anybody besides, forget about myself, things are working out for me, that anybody got held back that actually had a chance to change their life and their family's lives.
Agreed.
Behind somebody else cheating.
Being selfish, pretty much.
Pretty
Yeah.
much being selfish.
Preach on it, 'cause it's the truth.
is a microcosm of almost everything that I see wrong with the world. So I personally would never tell somebody on the island to not juice.
Right.
Because you know what? We're talking about a game still. It's a game we all love, but Terry always has a great thing that he says, which is, we love the game, but we bring the game to life. The game is
The field
not
is-
happening. The field is out there right
field is
now.
out there.
Right. Yeah.
Nothing's
You're
happening.
right. No, 100%. Yeah. Yeah. It's
And a lot of
it's
fields
out
you-
there sleeping.
It's out there with the lights on.
Yeah.
It's out there waiting for us.
Yeah.
And as soon as we step on the field, the lights come on and
It's
the
like, oh
field
my
comes alive,
goodness.
and it's like, whoa, well, let's throw the ball around.
Yeah.
Well, and you said King Griffey. King Griffey Jr. made the game come to life for people.
He sure did.
And that's one of the things. Like, those are the players, and in every sport, those are the players who really are transformational. Like,
Right.
you
Yes.
can say whatever you want, how you feel about LeBron and where he ranks all time,
Forget about
but
it.
the man brings the game to life.
Are you
He
crazy?
sure does.
Yeah,
And I think he's incredible,
And then,
but I
okay,
do
so you're talking to a bunch of LeBron lovers, and then on top of that, you see what he does off the court as far
Amazing.
as man, get out of here.
As a man.
As a man.
As a man.
Are you crazy?
As a husband.
As a-
Are you
yeah.
crazy?
As a businessman. Like,
As a father.
Like, hey,
Yeah.
anytime.
The guy's still at his son's games
Yes.
in the middle of the season.
Yes, and making it work, or having his best friends be there, taking video and making sure that his kid has a support structure.
It's unbelievable.
And what kills me is Why are we not putting that all over the place? Why
because
are we not
want to
promoting
run
that?
This is my problem. But I always talk about it because guys like LeBron James and Anthony Joshua's who always speak positive and speak, they're just a positive image all the way around. And all we can do is talk about the guy who's over there being a butthead. All we want to talk about is the guy.
I'll tell you another example. I mean, it actually goes into, in my opinion, we had a really good friend and the family on the O-Zone. His name was Laker Quick. And he was a Muslim fella, and he passed away really young, passed away like 37, 36. And he always talked about this even before 9/11, but he was talking about the all-out war on faith in general. And when you look at it from a positivity standpoint, like you look at this kid, Russell Wilson, man, Russell Wilson's been the best football player in football for like 5 years.
Very solid.
He's just now starting to get the accolades of being that.
Right.
But he's been really good for a really long time. When he came out and he said, and he got divorced, but before that, when he came out and he said that he had Christian faith, he got divorced, then he got with his woman, and they said that they were going to wait to have sex till they got married. He got with her, blah, 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 blah. They ended up getting married, having kids. Manny Pacquiao went from gambling and womanizing and so on and so forth to professing his faith. Suddenly he started getting real suspect decisions taken from him in the boxing arena. Mm-hmm. Tim Tebow, who I think has a lot of things confused and wrong, but I can tell you this, Tim Tebow didn't do nothing but win when he got his opportunity.
Yeah, he found a way.
He found a way to win.
Even in
games.
baseball right now.
Even in baseball. And yet the guy won't get an opportunity because this is where we are in sports and this is where we are in the world. I'm no Boy Scout myself, but I can see this as clear as day when somebody comes out for the right, if you will. Not the right wing, I'm saying, guys.
Yeah, but doing the right thing.
Doing the right thing. From a traditional standpoint, if you're in a public position, you're going to get ridiculed.
Well, and my biggest problem is, especially if you're a minority.
This is the
because this kills me.
This is the code. This is the code switching thing.
Yeah,
all the time. It's a different way. It's a different. That's a
because we
100%.
We bash all of these athletes. And we hang it particularly on African-American male athletes about not being good dads or role models, right? But we got plenty of them. There's plenty of good role models.
But we don't highlight those.
We don't want to talk about those, right?
Yeah.
And what we want to do is we want to flip it around and be like...
And show Antonio Brown.
Yep. Or show the guy punching or hitting a woman like you said before. Yeah. Like, look...
Even if that guy actually redeems himself and seems like he starts to walk the straight and narrow.
Yeah.
You leave that part of the story out.
Yep. Well, the Aroldis Chapman thing, I remember the Dodgers, that was a done deal.
Yeah, he was supposed to be coming, right?
But I was thrilled because of the domestic violence in Florida. I was actually thrilled that it didn't end up being that way because it's hard for me to root. Like, I used to be a diehard Steelers fan. There are guys on that team and things they've done in the last few years.
You can't roll with it.
I can't roll with it. And so now I don't have a football team. It kills me.
I know, but we talk about that all the time. Big Ben has how many rape cases under his belt? And we act like it's not going on. And this is the incentivizing of the wrongdoing. And then we can't be surprised when teams do it. And then you say, oh, man, they cheated. I can't believe it. Oh, well. Well, then what? Then what? We need to shut it down. We need to, and there needs to be a punishment. Now, with baseball, they have an 80-game suspension for the first time, and you don't get paid for it. 80-game, and I agree that money, where does that money go?
Well, that's the thing, right? Like, why isn't that money going to help kids or prevent the next group from doing it? Or pay for more investigations? Because, like, this is one of those things. I mean, in every sport.
Just goes back in the owner's pockets, basically.
You look at MMA, right? You look at all sports in general. This is the one thing baseball does poorly is baseball likes to flog itself in public. Baseball,
love a good flogging. Yeah.
Baseball loves to be like masochistic and be like, we did it wrong. Watch us. We're wrong. We're so wrong.
Yeah.
This guy's wrong.
Yeah.
Right? And you're like, why are we doing congressional hearings?
Yes.
Right?
There's a lot of other stuff that's way more important to be in front of Congress.
Right. And yet baseball does this all the time. It's like every 5 years, there's one of these things where we publicly flog it, but there's no penalty.
Well, this is why I think that they do it on purpose a little bit.
That's
because,
the public flogging.
You know, I think they're living by any news is good news. You know,
yeah.
And now it's going to drive people to because the Astros are still going to win. And you think that the Astros, you think that Jose Altuve's still not going to be able to hit because you didn't tell him what pitch was coming? The dude knows how to hit.
No,
George Springer knows how to hit.
No, they're going to buzz him and tell him what.
And this is another problem that you're talking about. Now, when you start talking about hitting players, don't be surprised if somebody actually goes after you.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if those guys get hit a ton this year.
They already said they already came out and said that they're going to hit them. But I could not stand up there and get hit with a 100-mile-an-hour pitch and just think that I'm going to take it. I'm not.
Oh no, I wore a lot of pitches. That like if there was ever a record I could have gotten, Craig Biggio would have been in trouble. Because if you took because I was on the plate. Oh, I was on the plate and I was mean. I mean, nice guy.
Yeah.
Super easygoing win the game, but man, if you cross the line, but if you throw in, especially 0-2, 1-2.
Come on, man. I got to take that.
Hey, I got to wear that. That's a base.
Yeah,
to
I'm
me.
in the hole.
I'm a speed guy.
Yeah.
Right?
I need to be on base and be effective.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I used to laugh. I'd be like, 0-2, you threw a curveball in?
Right.
I'm like,
thanks. Put that wing out there. Get that.
And we didn't have armor.
Like,
No.
I can
You
wear
said
the whole
wear that.
face
I can
guard
wear
and
a
everything
wrist
else.
guard
Guard and a face shield and a leg guard now.
Yeah. Nowadays, that leg guard.
Man, I was
Come
like,
on, man.
when I was a high school coach, and this is not that long, I used to let my kids in the beginning of the year throw at me. No joke, because I'm like, I'm never gonna ask you to do something
That you wouldn't
that
do.
I won't do. So here's
to
the deal: I'm gonna stand here. You all get one free shot. You know immediately who on your team is a nasty little kid, right? You're like,
Yeah, I can get you back,
and
dude.
you immediately know. Oh, he don't like me that much.
Yeah.
He says nice things in front of me, but clearly there's a little
He wants to give you a
animosity.
dose.
And I'm like, but I would stand. I'm like, not in the face and not in the personal parts. Other than that, we're
Yep.
good to go, right?
Right, rib me.
But now, when we go to batting practice, when we go to stuff, I'm going to expect you to stand there and own that plate.
Mm-hmm.
Especially in a big game, I'm going to expect you, but I'm going to teach you how to wear a pitch and not get hurt.
Yeah. Right.
Never in the ankles, never in the knee, never in the head.
Yeah,
Right?
take out in the fleshy spots.
Right.
But you know what? I wonder if this, now that you're saying that out loud, I wonder if this actually may spark a renaissance of pitching inside.
You'd hope. I mean,
You know what I mean?
But the problem is the strike zone. Like, when we played, the strike zone was different.
Oh, it's completely
Right?
different
Like,
than what it is
we
now.
keep shrinking this strike zone.
Yeah.
And then
They want more offense.
right, but also, and no one ever talks about it. Everybody's like, it was purely the steroids thing. No. The average life of a ball is like 4 pitches.
Right.
Used to be 13 20
Pearls.
years ago.
Every pitch is a pearl.
Right. And there's no foul territory. You can't catch a foul pop-up.
Oh, don't even get us started on the net. The net has, even though
And
it's
you
a
got
safety
the mound,
issue.
the mound issues. And everything.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the biggest factor. They moved in the fences.
Yes.
When I was a kid, Jack Clark had dumb power.
Yes.
And he hit 23
Yes.
bombs.
I knew Jack. And,
Did you?
really? And, oh my goodness. One of the guys I worked with, one of our lighting guys, that was his best friend growing up.
I loved Jack Clark
And
when I
you're
was
like,
a kid.
man, that guy has crazy. But,
Crazy pop, 23 bombs.
but look at the stadiums.
Dude, he
in the
30
other-
bombs?
You talked about the Polo Grounds, right?
605 dead
You
center.
talk about the catch.
Right.
Yeah,
The reason the
man.
catch is what it is.
Because it was 605 to
because
dead
it was
center.
605
Yeah.
to dead center. That was an amazing
He had a lot of
catch.
time to go get
And
it.
an amazing throw. And Larry Doby made a base running error, which no one ever talks about.
They don't talk about
and,
that.
And I love Larry Doby because no one ever talks about Larry Doby.
Nah,
'cause
they got Jackie Robinson,
Yeah, 'cause
and Larry
yeah,
came.
right.
Larry was a plus one.
Yeah, Larry's the plus one who did a lot of the same things in the American
did,
League
sure
and,
did.
took
Sure
a
did.
beating for it.
Sure did.
And we don't give him enough love.
That's
Sure
true.
did. Sure did. A great conversation here. We're going to shift a little bit, man. We're not going to keep you all night, but we want to talk about you. Want to talk about you? Let's. What do you got going, man? The people want to know about you. First and foremost, tell the people where they can find you on social media.
Well, social media pretty much across everything. Real M Fishman.
Okay.
So Real REEL.
Okay.
And then M Fishman, like my last name. And I'm pretty good about responding. I try to be direct. You won't get some crazy person from a PR firm who's going to send you some generic thing. It's me. So if you say something too crazy, I'm probably going to look at you a little funny. And if I say something a little sharp, that was me.
That was me too. That was me too.
But doing projects.
Yeah.
I mean, like you've
been
got
in a long time, man. You've been in the game a long time. What is that like? Because I grew up watching you on TV. And so like, you know what I mean? We're the same age. And I grew up being just a regular little kid. And I have to say, man, you're, as far as people that I know, you gotta be top 3 adult individuals that were child actors. I personally don't think that children should be actors. I think it's a very hard ask to ask someone to be someone else when they don't know who they are themselves yet. And as a child, you're developing. It's hard. And unless you have that full support structure that's like overprotective even.
Yeah.
What I've seen to my experience is things have gone left. And sometimes with dire consequences.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
But I think it comes down to same thing as everything, right? It's the same as being born into a tough neighborhood. It's the same as being born into a tough family. It's the same as you have access to a lot of things.
Yeah.
Right? It comes down to choices.
Yes.
I mean, that's the one big thing. Having good parents helps. Having a support structure helps. Being with the right people. It's interesting that you said that because I haven't really thought about it that way, and it's a really good point. I always think, though, as an adult, the best part of acting is getting to pretend.
Of course.
Right? It's
as an
play
adult.
Pretend, right?
As an adult.
Right.
I agree.
Right.
I agree.
So
you have access to a million different worlds.
Right.
And you can live out and justify a bunch of stuff that you may never do in real life.
Right. I would never say that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm about to really enjoy it.
But I'm about to dig in.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's what I mean. But as a kid, if you don't know who you are, it's those. I just feel like those lines can get blurry.
Yeah, well, and
between who you are and the roles that you're playing without supervision,
and
success actually can exacerbate that.
Yes, and that's the thing is
you weren't just a child actor. You had success.
Yeah, and it's what I always look at it is it's the same as money for a lot of these athletes, right? It's a magnifier.
That's all it is. That's all it is.
Right?
That's all it is.
About it all the time.
I feel the same way about alcohol.
Yeah,
it's the same thing.
If you're a positive person,
you're going to be more
do something more positive.
Yep.
If you're a kind person, you're probably going to be more kind. You're going to do more charitable acts. So like for me, I have one charity we started this year and another charity I started with my daughter that we're kind of working on and trying to build. Because for me, I look at this like, okay, I have access, right? So my job is for two things. The first one is to try to use that access in the best possible way. And see, then my writing partner and I, we write stuff that I think people are always confused about because we write stuff where the majority of our leads are female or minority, which is hard sometimes when you're trying to sell. Of course. Right? Because people are...
Because as we know, it's not... everybody's in the box.
Right, and so it's so odd for me because I'm like, but those are the people I grew up with. These are the stories that I knew because I didn't just grow up on the show. So I worked till I was like 15.
Okay.
Then I went back to regular public high school. I went to public school.
Which is great.
The days and weeks I didn't work. Like this is one thing my parents did right is the days and weeks I didn't work, I went to public school. So I went to the same school I would have gone to the whole time. So that elementary school age, I had a job, but most of those people knew me before I had that job, even though I was a kid. Right? So the new kids always thought it was a little crazy, but then for the most part, I played Little League. I got to do normal kid things. That's, I think, where I think a lot of people go wrong is they go, oh, this kid works. And now the kid starts being either a meal ticket or a business venture, right? And
it's a problem, man.
Right? And instead of like, hey, this is something that this kid does, the same as, hey, this kid plays ball, right? Instead of it being an extracurricular activity and something that they're into, it becomes their identity. And that's the hard part, right?
I agree. And this is, as an adult, I can go to the chicken spot and people can be like, oh man, I see you on the thing. I'm like, all right, cool. But I'll take that 4-piece and some fries because as an adult, I'm able to say, that's not my identity.
Right.
Right now, my identity is about getting this food.
Right. But the best case, and we can talk about, is that when you walk down the street, they'll call you by your
character name.
The character name or the show name.
Always.
Ballers! Charles!
Always.
Yeah, man.
And then just wait for you to turn around. hey. So for me, if you think that's bad, well, Roseanne wasn't always everybody's favorite person.
Oh, man.
I spent a lot of time defending her.
I bet.
And there are a lot of good things that she's done that I don't think she gets credit for. But it's really interesting. When I started playing ball, oh man, if you think I haven't heard every possible joke you could think of, and people would just, and I'm like,
just chirping.
I'm like, hey,
all right.
it's like you, right?
Yeah.
Not every show or project that we've done is our favorite or succeeds.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah,
right?
yeah.
But I'm not embarrassed of the work. Right? Like, I'm not right? Like I'm not embarrassed.
I'm not embarrassed that you bring it up. Bring it up.
So if that's where you're going,
and I'm still off the wall. I'm still trying to get the gaps.
Yeah. Good job, buddy. Keep going there,
yes.
right? Like that's not an issue. The one place I would say is like I went back to public high school And then I moved out of my parents' house and kind of moved around. Like I lived in Compton and I lived all over the place. Right?
Okay.
So it was good from the standpoint of I never had like live large money. I think that's part of it too, is now kids make more and some of these kids are the lead of their show and are making crazy money.
Dude.
Right? And there's not the right checks and balances. It goes back to kind of what we said before. And,
no doubt.
And this goes back to something T said is any press is good press. And I think that's where kids really fall into it is like,
especially nowadays with the social media.
Yeah. And all of a sudden they're out there saying everything.
And you see kids killing themselves and killing other kids. And, crazy stuff is going on with the kids nowadays.
I work with high school kids.
Yeah.
I'm a travel ball coach. So I have 21 girls between 15 and 18. The garbage that they deal with.
Oh, man.
Body image, comments,
adults,
right? Like
adults talking to the teenagers,
right?
Like, and I'm like, who's this?
Right. What is this?
I'm like,
you're monitoring the stuff.
Yeah, but most teams aren't like that.
Of course,
most people aren't like that, and that's the part, like I'm super protective, and I'll go to war for those girls, right? But that's also the thing. A couple weekends ago, we play a game. They bring in a pitcher, and immediately she hits the girl in the head. I turned to the coach. I said, seriously? Oh, it's not baseball. I'm like, okay. Next pitch, in the next girl's ribs. I'm like, okay, here's the deal. You want to make a statement? I'm standing right here. But the next girl on my team who gets hit, you and I have a problem.
You're right.
Because I'm not losing kids because you want to fight behind a 15 or 16-year-old.
You want to hide.
Right? Like, if you want to be so bold, I'm right here. I'm right here, right?
Yeah.
Nobody else got hit. Then they're like, oh, you're unreasonable.
This is amazing nowadays, dude.
Watch me be unreasonable.
Bro,
watch me be unreasonable all over you to save some 16-year-old girl.
Bro, nowadays, this is par for the course, unfortunately.
It's crazy.
This is it. And nothing blows my mind more than the victim that loves to, than the bully that loves to act like the victim.
Yes.
You see it now a lot with the racism talk.
Oh yeah.
You see it a lot where the racists themselves fall into being the victim.
I didn't realize this was going to affect my whole life. I've lost everything.
I've lost everything. Yeah,
I watched that guy that was a part of the girl that got ran over. Where was it, in North Carolina a few years ago, something like that. And that guy was crying, talking about the police are after me, and I got a warrant out for my arrest. Yeah, dude, you guys try to kill somebody.
Out of control.
You guys are out of control.
Well, and this is the thing. You have the right to say whatever you want in this country,
do.
but there's no freedom of consequences.
There is no freedom of consequences. And honestly, unfortunately, we talk about this all the time. There is somewhat now because you got keyboard gangsters.
Yeah.
Not as many people get punched in the face, which can save lives because now people go immediately to the next step.
Right.
Which is deeper violence.
Right. Well, and that's the thing is, this is the psychological part. Like, we don't talk enough about mental health.
100%.
Like, mental health is a huge thing. I mean, this is a conversation.
It ties into the homeless issue.
Yeah.
It ties into to the healthcare system.
Yep.
It ties into every facet of day-to-day life is tied to this mental health because, in my opinion, we as Americans are creating defective people.
Yeah.
And the reason we're doing that is because our entire society is based around accolading and incentivizing consumerism and materialism. And so if you are obsessed with the things, you will never have enough.
Well, that's the thing, Omar.
You'll never have enough.
Speak on it.
And I like things.
Well,
I like nice stuff.
Everybody does.
You know what I mean?
Right. But
a nice computer.
But that's the thing, right?
Rolled up in a nice car.
But
I like nice stuff.
But that's the thing, and this is where social media, I watch it literally kill kids.
Yeah.
It's
taking a dark turn. No. On the pod today.
No.
But a real turn. No.
It's everybody's highlight reel, right? So I try.
I tell my kids that all the time, dude.
I try hard on mine. Look, I failed a lot last year. I pitched 8 or 9 shows that all made it to the executive level. Most people would be happy with that. I'm not happy because none of them ended up on air, right?
There you go.
And this is the thing is, it's okay to get frustrated. Like, we keep teaching these kids, and this is where sports is supposed to benefit them.
Sure is.
Right? Going back to what we're doing here, right? Like, this is where sports is supposed to benefit us is sports is supposed to be a place where you you lean into teamwork. You learn how to work.
You learn how to fail.
You learn how to fail.
You learn how to fail.
And you learn how to fail. Right. It's
individually
all right to fail.
and as a team.
And
yes.
you learn how to learn from that failure and come back and do something great. And this is where the cheating thing. So
full circle.
So T,
professional
here's
work
the
by
for
Fish
me,
right there.
right?
I like that.
Okay, so T, so you tell me, are you okay with what the Astros have done because they're robbing the rest of the league the opportunity to grow his teams? They're robbing a guy like Clayton Kershaw.
They robbed her.
Who is, in my opinion, going to be a Hall of Famer, no question.
He's got to be first ballot.
First ballot.
But-
I need 100% on Kershaw.
Yeah.
But there's his legacy. And what if Kershaw was one of those guys? And he's not, because he's a positive guy. He's a great family guy.
Yeah.
But what if Kershaw was one of those guys
That killed himself.
that came across the ticker all of a sudden who couldn't take it?
Yeah.
What if Mike Trout the other day? We have no proof one way or the other. We have lots of
Yeah, I don't know.
Right.
I'm not in the office. I don't dare.
Like Mike Trout seems to have a good family, good support structure. His dad was a great AAA player, right? What if one of these guys? I mean, look, the Angels just lost a guy this year. We have an epidemic of people using and abusing stuff to cope because we don't teach them. Sports is supposed to teach you to cope. It's supposed to be your release. It's supposed to be an escape. It's supposed to be fun.
Let me tell you something. We can go so deep down this rabbit hole because I'm the rabbit hole type of dude.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Oh man, you
Especially
forget
since
about
he's got the broken. Especially since he's on the IR.
He's got time to sit around.
I
haven't been out the house in 3 weeks.
I can't even get him on the phone. This is all rabbit hole.
So, but listen, there's so many things that go on to get people with this mental health, especially kids. And I think that one of the things that nobody ever talks about is that what we used to play when we were kids are video games, sport video games. Now they have to shoot 'em up, kill 'em. And, it's hard for kids. It shouldn't be hard. It doesn't seem like it should be hard, but you should be able to differentiate between shoot 'em up games and the guy dies and then he comes back to life and you get more lives than when you actually shoot somebody up and they're gone forever. There's no comeback from death. And so with that, kids have to recognize that a video game is a video game, but there seems to be a blurred line there right now with all the shoot 'em up games and everything. I feel like there needs to be more regulation around video games like that. When you talk about the shoot 'em ups, I don't particularly say one specific or the other, but there needs to be some kind of structure.
See, it's funny. So we used to take in kids. I mean, over the course of the years.
Him too.
Yeah.
I raised my brother. He's 9 years younger than me. Then I had a kid at 18. Every mathematical thing in the world. When I was 18, I had no job. Then I started working on the backside of stuff. I was working crew stuff. I worked on the production side to accrue all of the skills I felt I needed because I know what I want to do.
Right.
I want to write, produce. I still want to act.
Yeah.
But there's
Wanna
only
do more.
so many
So many roles you got in
can
you.
play, right?
Yep.
And there's only so many roles I can play. Like I can't play the
Yep.
roles Omar's
Yep.
playing,
Right.
And
Yep.
Omar's not
And vice
playing my
versa.
role, right?
There's a lot of comp out there.
Exactly.
And that's the thing is, we used to take these kids in, and we played video games. I had no problem.
We did
playing,
too, big time
playing
gamers.
shoot 'em up games, and
All of them. And whatever.
The difference is, kids used to have an idea of reality,
Right.
Dude.
right? But that's like you look at the photoshopped pictures
Oh, my
on
goodness.
Instagram, and you even just the exposure to adult things.
I agree.
The concept, like I work with these young women. Every day they sit there and say something. Well, I'm not this. I'm not that. I'm not. It's so hard for me to look at these young women and be like, you're a really smart, strong, athletic, beautiful young girl, right? And the whole world's telling you you're not enough. Everything about you's not enough, right? But even guys now, look at people getting pec implants and bicep implants.
Come on,
and
dude.
like,
What are you doing, bro?
you're gonna be 90 years old with like with a six pack on
With a
top,
soft six-pack.
right? With a six pack on top of your belly, right? Like how did they get? Or guys got massive biceps, but
I completely agree.
right, and we're perverting it all, and we're perverting it. Kind of comes back to the sports thing is we're perverting it because we're saying that the means are justified by the ends. However you win. You won a championship. All those guys got rings. Now they're all wearing their rings everywhere. If I was a member of the Houston Astros, there's no way I could wear that ring.
Really?
I couldn't. And that's me. I couldn't wear it.
Wow.
We've won championships, right? I have 0 trophies. my kids, as a kind of a rule, my attitude is a trophy does not define you. A trophy marks something you already achieved.
I agree with you.
Right? Like a ring you can keep, to me. I'd keep the ring, but I would never wear it. I would never wear it.
Wow.
I couldn't.
I was all conference, all state, and everything, and I don't even have any of that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't care about the trophies up the yin yang and everything. The only thing
But when you ask the people that played against about you, they think, oh,
they
yeah.
remember. I got my draft notice. That's it.
Man, we couldn't get you out.
But people who win, they don't need to carry all that.
Okay, well, it's internal,
Right.
But this is the part this is the part that's lost right now, just being a stud. But want to keep moving because we're going deep down the rabbit hole. I want to move into the world of professional boxing. Your favorite fighter it looks like he's in talks to fight someone you've never heard of for about $40 million. I'm talking about Canelo Alvarez, folks.
Not my favorite dude.
Canelo Alvarez they're looking at his Cinco de Mayo date of being taking place a fight in Japan against Murata. Now, this is part of an 11-fight, $365 million deal, which, as you heard when we announced it on the O-Zone, the problem that everybody has with it, we talked about it when it first broke, is when you give a guy that kind of money, you're basically saying he needs to be knocked out, drug out of the stadium to get a loss.
Left in the parking lot.
Yeah. And then maybe he'll get the decision. Depending on the judges. Then maybe.
Depending on the judges.
Maybe.
Now, people go hard on us because they say we go too hard on Canelo, but this is just bad for the sport.
Yeah, and you know what?
There's guys he can fight that are up to code.
A lot of them.
A lot of them.
Well, that's the problem in boxing now is, can you fight the guys who are in front of you or should be?
And this is why UFC has been able to inch in and edge in on boxing's territory.
Well, this guy that he's getting ready to fight is what, 14-2 or something like that? Come on, dude.
Well,
Canelo's 59-1-2.
Yeah, but that's kind of the UFC style, right? Like UFC, we take a guy, we give him a bunch of tomato cans, we build him up a record. Oh, he's undefeated, or he has only one loss in his career. He's amazing, title shot. Oh, look, he disappeared. Next guy.
But the thing is in UFC, guys also may be like,
and you have the potential
9-5, but you never know who could win because they might have went back to the lab and worked on the move,
or you could break somebody's leg, and all of a sudden this guy's
But in boxing, the chances of these guys, it's so lopsided.
The chances of this guy beating Canelo are so far. I mean, first of all, he can't win a decision.
He's never going to win a decision.
No, and he's not a knockout artist.
Versus the 5 to 6 guys that just off the top of your head that he could fight that will be compelling fights.
But to see, and this is the thing and this is where Floyd was smart.
And he hurt the sport.
But he hurt the sport is you're fighting guys who unless God inhabits that guy's body and throws lightning, this guy's never beat you. He's never going to knock him out. Right? You out. Yeah. So unless some kind of divine intervention happens, or unless someone takes a dive.
And okay, I did a film once. I tell people this all the time. I did a film once where I played a crooked boxing promoter, and they had me shadow a guy in New York City that was a boxing promoter, and his main thing that he imparted to me was, look, it's fixed. You may not want to believe it as a fan or as an athlete yourself. He said, but this stuff is fixed, and it's not fixed in the way that you think is obvious that a guy just takes a dive. Guys take a dive via the ref, via the judges, via the guy who's the beneficiary of the dive doesn't usually know, so that you continue to pump his confidence until it's his turn, and then once it's his turn to take the dive, you toy with him and you play with his confidence, you play with his mind.
Right.
In this scenario, I have to go on record every time and say this. I don't believe Canelo Alvarez is afraid to fight anybody on the planet. I don't think Canelo Alvarez is afraid to fight Anthony Joshua.
I don't think he's a coward anyway. That's the thing people say that I hate.
I don't think that. I do think that he is A-okay with benefiting from the system that he was able to get to the top of with assistance.
Yeah.
And
I told you
that's the problem that I have.
But I just told you the other day, I didn't believe Canelo was a part of this until this fight got announced. Because I kept going back and forth with him saying, literally, dude, you think he knows what's going on? And we would go back and forth. I believe that he knows now. And I honestly believe that it's not a fear factor, because I don't believe that fighters are afraid, but I do believe that Canelo is not willing to take a chance on losing. This is the same reason why there's no way that he could think that he won that first Triple G fight. There is no way on the planet that he could think that he won that fight.
No, but here's what happens, unfortunately, is we are invested in the hero mentality and
Wow,
storyline,
preach on it.
right? So then we have to set up the hero, and then we have to draw him out because that's how the money's made, right? So we just keep drawing him out. And here's, again, what people who don't love the sport, they just pony up and show up and give people money for a fight that's going to be boring.
Yeah.
Like, that's the part that sucks is it's
Herein
not
lies
fun.
this is the problem. This isn't all right. Anyway, that's anybody who doesn't want to, because everybody thinks that it's a personal thing that we have, but in real life,
I just want to see what's best for the sport.
I'd rather see him fight Charlo. I'd even rather see him fight Boo Boo Andrade. I wouldn't mind seeing him fight Sergey Derevchenko. I obviously I would like to see the third Triple G fight.
Yeah.
If we want to go up to 168, fight Caleb Plant, fight Callum Smith, fight David Benavidez Jr. I don't think you should go to 175 because you already picked the tomato can of 175 and it looked like he took a dive.
Yeah.
And you don't want any work with Artur Beterbiev.
Bivol.
You definitely don't want any work with Bivol. I just don't, it makes me look like a hater, but at the same time, I'm just telling it like it is. And when you read the comment section, you recognize that we're not alone in this.
No, and this is the problem that boxing has as a sport, right? When you think back to great all-time boxers, it's because they fought people.
They fought
at the right
everybody.
time.
Yes.
And like, I used to know Randy Shields, right?
Okay.
Almost nobody knows who Randy Shields is unless you're a real boxing guy, right? But you look at the list of guys that he fought. He fought real boxers. He's got a history, right?
How is he supposed to be undefeated?
Well,
he can't be
that's the
undefeated
thing.
with that
I mean-
with the lineup.
Right. And you look at these old-time boxers, right? You look at Hearns and you know.
Are you crazy?
Right? Like
Hagler, Leonard.
Hagler,
I mean,
Leonard.
come on,
like,
man. You got Julio Cesar Chavez.
The B-level guys in that era would run the table now.
Well-
the B-level guys, a guy like Terry Norris, who fought everybody.
Let me tell you something.
A guy like Iran Barkley,
But
everybody.
even Floyd Mayweather Sr.
Yep.
I mean, come on, dude. People,
And Roger.
Yeah, and Roger. Both of them. They would have run it because the thing is,
And forget about Purnell.
But
Forget about Burnell Whitaker and Meldrick Taylor and all these guys.
Well, and that's the thing is, but that's why we still remember those guys.
But to play devil's advocate, that is also why these guys die young. I catch them in the gym sometimes walking around and they have the CTE.
Right.
They take the punishment. It is what you're signing up for.
You signed up for that.
Well, this is the
You
thing.
didn't necessarily sign up for CTE, but
Well, but that's again.
but
that's
you kind
why-
of did.
I hope not.
But you kind of did.
But that's like sports, right? That's why wealthy athletes aren't going into these sports anymore. That's
Right.
why. That's the other
100%.
problem. That's part of the
100%.
reason why we're losing boxing, right?
Yes.
And it's the same reason like UFC, right? These guys come up, they're all in.
Yeah.
And they get knocked out or take a little damage, and they transition into an announcer. They're on ESPN.
Right.
And I don't blame them, right? You made your way. And this is also the economics of sports in this country in particular, because we push sports. The economics is
Big business.
It's huge business. Youth sports is like a $15 billion a year
Big money.
industry, right? And
Travel
you're looking
ball, AAU.
Yeah, and you're looking at college, right? This is why minority athletes are getting pushed out of college.
And and it's also why they're getting pushed into college without getting paid.
Yeah.
It's because
Yeah.
they're making other people a lot of dough.
They're
that
making
they don't
people trillions of dollars.
trillion,
right?
crazy dough.
Right? And,
Crazy
and
dough.
this is the thing. We're losing the sport, but you can't blame the guy who goes, hey,
I
I'll go
can't
take
be
it.
mad at Canelo
No,
because
it's
this
the world
is
he
going to
came into.
be the fifth fight out of that deal, something like that, of which 3 of them have been suspect, I want to say.
Danny Jacobs was the only one. And now I have to question Danny Jacobs.
Jeez.
See, but then who in this time period, right?
Which also is not on Canelo, though.
No, that's not. No, it's
Canelo
not.
took the right fight, and that fight was with the guy that actually posed the threat. I can't. So that's a tricky line there, but
No, I know what you're saying, but just going back to what you said about how you worked in the film, and the whole theory that applies to that bout. You know what I'm saying? Everybody.
I
don't want to say that. I don't want to say no.
I'm not going to question Danny's integrity.
No, but do you think because that fight was so dangerous that these are now like, oh no, we can't get that close again?
Perhaps,
Right?
Perhaps, but
Like-
this is what we're
like they're
saying.
going, we almost lost our investment.
If
They almost lost it against Kovalev. He
Yep.
wouldn't throw his punches.
Yep.
It's unbelievable. But on the flip side, the last thing I'm going to stick with that is, you could also say though, they're protecting their investment in a different way, because the zone is huge in Japan. And they're having this fight in Japan.
This guy's supposed to be a megastar in Japan.
This is what I'm saying. So actually, I can be mad all I want, but this is actually good business for the people that own the zone, and it helps enhance the subscribers.
And it might help boxing.
And in that, it actually might help boxing if he goes over there and gives the guy a spectacular knockout, and you have a big piece of Japan. Now, the bigger issue that I have is, in a world where guys only fight 2 times a year, it's hard to squander one of those fights on something that doesn't really matter.
Right.
Moving on in the boxing, though, in a not surprising but stupid move, Andy Ruiz Jr. fired Manny Robles.
You trying to blame him for his lack of conditioning?
What did Manny Robles? Manny Robles can't make you show up to the gym.
Can't make you show up, dude. I'm texting you. I'm calling you.
What do you want me to do? You weigh 300 pounds. I can't even push you in the gym. What do you want me to do?
But that's the thing. I mean, how many times do you see a fighter in particular, in the fighting game in particular, where guys start to either sleep their way out of or eat their way out of the sport?
All the time.
We talk about it. It's not even just boxers.
Yeah.
This is, but in Andy's situation, this was so clear cut. This was like, and then when you listen after the fight, the way that he apologized to Manny Robles and the way that he apologized to his father, who both of them were like, they seemed united in the sense that it was like, hey man, we told you.
But now he's out.
And the thing is you come to find that Andy Ruiz Sr. is Andy Ruiz Jr.'s manager. I didn't know that. And so I thought he was just his dad.
I did too.
Just his dad. No. That was, you know what I mean? So he's his manager, and he's the one who delivered the news, because we kept, the word on the curb kept being after the fight. Manny was like, man, I've been at the gym. I haven't heard from Andy. I don't know what to tell you guys.
I'm calling him or texting him.
He won't come through. And that was even the word a little bit before the fight.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden we find out that Andy's training himself.
And then Andy comes out and says he's training himself for the Nathan's hot dog competition.
But man, that was a good line. That was wrong, but it was good.
Yeah, that just there's not really much to cover there. It's just really I don't appreciate
this goes back to square one, man. You got to deflate gate, and the guy who let the air out of the ball gets in trouble.
It does.
I mean, come on, dude.
Well, some of these trainers, right? They build these guys. They build them and build them and build them, and then same thing. I'm always like, okay, who stepped in and swooped in and made this big decision? Because now the question is, what comes next?
We're going to see what comes next, because I think they're trying to go with a new year, new you approach.
Ultimately, Dillian White, I do believe.
And he's going to get knocked out if he doesn't get
knocked out anyway.
Andrew Ruiz, and in shape Andy Ruiz, his version of in shape, can be a serious problem for everybody in the heavyweight division. I don't believe that he's interested. He's tasted, pun intended, big money. He's tasted crazy money. If Andy gets one more fight, does Andy or any other Ruiz ever need to do anything again?
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
there's talk that he got $30 million for that Joshua rematch. He got $6 million for the first fight. Let's not act like that's chump change. So we talk about crazy numbers.
I know, in sports, right? We're like, he only made $6 million. Poor guy.
What's he gonna do?
Right? What? Man, that's chump change. Yeah. I mean, everybody else is, and you're like,
I'll take $6
million. There's a lot of people going, six what?
Yeah, exactly.
What do I say?
Exactly. Yeah, let Anthony Joshua knock me out for $6.
Right? He can knock you out for cheaper than that. No, I got a coupon.
No, don't do it. Don't give it to him.
I got a coupon, dude. Come on in, Anthony. We got him.
Line him up.
No, don't jerk.
Fish wants some too. Got a 2 for 1.
2 for 1.
Give me my $6 million. It's all good. But yeah, so you have that. We got a fight that's actually going on right now. We'll talk about that on the next pod. With Danny Garcia is making his return, and Jared Hurd is making his return for the first fight since he got knocked out by J-Rock, and he won that fight. He got some rounds in, and he ended up winning the fight against Santana. But the fight that I want to talk about is J-Rock, Julian Williams, losing his belts at home to the Cuban Banana, Jason Rosario, which was awesome because I was watching the fight. And the gym that I trained at in Miami, the trainers were his trainers.
Oh, wow.
These are guys that have put me through the paces and watched me sweat and, you know what I mean, the whole song and dance. And I was like, oh, there he is in the thing. And I tell you, this kid's going to be a problem at 54 for everybody. Did you end up watching the fight?
Yeah, he dropped some bombs.
Man, he dropped the ones and twos. This wasn't a situation where Julian Williams wasn't prepared.
No.
He got overpowered.
He got overpaid. He got walked through.
And those hands looked heavy.
Oh, my goodness.
Heavy and fast.
Sledgehammers.
They were heavy, but they were fast.
You saw him at the beginning, first couple rounds when they were trading. J-Rock was landing his punches.
Yeah.
And the dude was landing his punches like, hey, now,
and that's the problem.
This.
Yes, and he was like, okay.
Yeah, I can take yours.
Yeah.
Can you take this?
Yes,
Now I'm about to go to fifth gear.
All right. And then I'm chirping out. I got posse.
It was like, uh-oh.
And you saw J-Rock's leg goes like, okay, he's in a little trouble.
And they even went and talked to his
come back.
trainer. And his trainer was like, yeah, we knew this was, he was going to, but we're prepared. We're prepared for a real fight.
Right.
Wow. And he got beat up. And then people had the nerve to talk about that was a premature stoppage. When you want to see the guy get his brains beat in?
Right. That was right on time.
That was great work by the ref.
It is. And that's one of those examples where people want to get mad because they wanted to see the knockout.
Right.
But
you got to see a knockout. He was out on his feet.
But we're in a different world now. Like, you can't let him take 2 or 3 more monster shots and then hit
Guaranteed
the ground.
CTE.
Well, that's the thing.
If not worse, immediately.
Especially if he hits the ground after that. Like, that was the right
terrible.
stop.
Man,
right?
he got beat up. He was getting beat up. He was about to get really hurt.
But his game plan was flawed, though. He needed to work off of that jab, and with a guy that thumps like that, you got to keep him at bay and soften him up to get him to slide into the 1-2, 1-2-2.
So big.
Yes, and then but he went out there. He went out there and tried to outslug the slugger.
Like a little 154, and I think that was the problem. With
too much heart,
and also with him fighting at home. And with the way that he acquired the belts from Jarrett Hurd by beating a slugger.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because he actually ended up breaking down Jarrett Hurd and getting him out of there. And Jarrett Hurd was known as the biggest puncher in the league at 54.
Yeah, and you come in thinking,
if I can do it to Hurd,
if I can do it to him,
that's it.
And then it's the hometown thing too.
The hometown thing is enormous.
People never talk about it.
You can't.
Because Evander Holyfield almost ran into it back in the day in Atlanta and almost lost his belt.
Your boy Gervonta Davis almost did the same thing just happened to him with a guy with a torn Achilles.
With Achilles!
He fooled around with Achilles, and he still had a hard time getting that dude out of there. You look at his face, he got touched in that fight, which makes no sense. With the homie Agamboa, with Yorokis. But yeah, so now, what's next for Jason? I love seeing his face when he won, though, man. Man, that dude, he did the work,
awesome,
and he was
man.
it was beautiful.
And what was beautiful about it, though, is that J-Rock actually prepared for it. And he prepared for that fight. It wasn't like he didn't come in there prepared or anything.
I respect them both.
I respect them both. The better guy won that night.
Yes.
But that's great boxing.
Sure is.
Like, that's what
That's
boxing
an even matchup,
needs, right?
yes.
Boxing needs that where you look at it and you go, wow, I want to see those two.
I want to see both of them, even if it's not against each other. I just want to see it. I don't think Julian Williams is done.
No. Right.
He's got to go back to the lab.
Yeah. And I think, but that's what great boxing is, right? The first time you really get tested, you learn something about the boxer.
Right.
The first time you get knocked out, you learn, can that guy overcome the fear, right? Because until you've been knocked out,
you don't know.
You don't know. And that's
100%.
what defines whether you're a great boxer.
Or a good boxer. We talk about it all
Who's your
the way
favorite fighter?
Oh, man.
All time. You got to cover it all.
He gave me the hand. It
that was
all
up there.
time.
I'm looking at it in space all time.
Keep it going because we want to keep it moving.
Maybe Sugar
Ray Robinson or Leonard?
Leonard. Only because I like. Wait, wow, no judgment there. There's something about the style and the speed and the people that were there at the time, I think.
Nobody's questioning Sugar Ray Leonard's resume.
Like Robinson, there's
Sugar Ray Robinson fought everybody. He didn't hardly lose until the end, and his record is like on the next.
It is.
Then he took it to Mexico.
Then he took it to
and get some more.
But you start looking at that time period. I don't have the same love for that time period, and maybe it's because you
weren't there. That I was about to say. I think that has a lot to do with it.
Right, like
it's hard. There's so much nostalgia involved when you think of fights.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You think of who you watched them with.
Yeah.
Where you were.
Yeah.
It's so tied to you.
Yeah.
So it's hard. We can only look at footage. It's like ball players. You know what I mean? I tell people all the time. I personally can make a very strong argument that Ricky Henderson is the greatest baseball player of all time. People think I'm crazy until I actually get into it.
And they look at his numbers.
And they look at his numbers. But if you ever watched a collection of games, I don't know if I saw a guy dominate the game top to bottom like Ricky Henderson.
And you had to watch him.
Must-see TV.
He was must-see TV.
Every time.
162 games a year, he's must-see TV.
Okay, when Lofton came in, when he talked about second base, did he talk about stealing at second base? Did he talk about what you look for? Did he talk about shoulders and elbows?
Well, one of the things that he talked to about us was the fact that the slide step
Changed the game.
changed
Yes.
the base stealing game.
Yep.
And about how it changed his personal game and how he was still able to succeed at that point. And even if you look at Ricky's numbers on the slide step, one of the things that made Ricky so impressive was he was still able to steal, but he wasn't stealing 130 bases a year like he was when the slide step wasn't invented. But no, he incorporated that.
Yeah, Ricky is the first guy I ever heard talk about elbows, about watching elbows to steal from second to third. He goes, the easiest base is steal. Right?
Yeah.
And everybody's like, watch the hands, watch the feet. And he goes, just watch his elbow. He can't throw you the ball without it.
Ricky, man, I got the opportunity to hang out with Ricky Henderson a couple times.
Amazing.
He bought me dinner, and I tried everything I could to get the check. He wouldn't let me get it.
Awesome.
We had great conversations.
Yeah,
man,
unbelievable.
My favorite.
Must watch. He was must watch.
It was like you can't. But see, that's the same thing I'm saying about the fighting.
Yeah.
You can't explain what it was like to watch Ricky Henderson in 1988,
Right.
89, 1980,
Yeah.
1979 to 2000.
Yeah.
Well, you have to really.
You needed
to
to
get a
be
grasp
there.
on a Ricky rally. I mean,
You have to understand what a
the
Ricky,
Ricky
rally,
rally is
even
unbelievable.
is.
I know. You don't even know what that is. Nobody can do that in
I hate to
sports
go
nowadays.
down to the rabbit hole, but honestly,
Let's go.
There's I can't think of one other guy I want in the clutch situation as far as his abilities. Tight game, nothing, 7th, 8th inning, other than Ricky Henderson.
Oh, he was special.
I don't know. I mean,
Give you
maybe
the bomb. He
maybe
give you that
Ozzie
walk, which is
Smith.
a triple.
Oh,
Yeah.
I loved Ozzie, but offensively?
Are you
Ozzie was a
crazy?
big-time
He was a
offensive player.
clutch player.
Yeah.
This is what we're talking
He's
about.
clutch.
And he's a 300 guy.
He
so
is
it's not
a
like
300 guy, but
he give you a big bomb. He doesn't even hit for power. He will give you a bomb. If
And
you
he's
need
cool
it.
now.
he give you the
And he's the coolest guy in the world. We
He
get
is
to
the
hang out with
coolest
Ozzie. Oh
guy.
my
He's the
God,
most
he's the
amazing.
coolest, the best guy ever.
Oh,
Talk to you about the game.
He is the most amazing guy.
And there's nobody else in this vein. I mean, we go back to baseball. Unfortunately, guys, it always comes back to baseball.
Sorry. My influence.
With this, whoever this bozo is that didn't vote for Derek Jeter to get in the Hall of Fame,
He ought to be ashamed of
he
himself.
sure should, and he should reveal himself. Mike Friars, I have a question for you. Who didn't vote for Derek? Forget the Astros. Who didn't vote for Derek Jeter? Because what I will say is sides, no sides, whatever else. If Derek Jeter was on that Yankee squad, they would have got it done. Or if he was on that Dodger squad, they would have got it. I don't care if you got the sides or whatever else.
You ain't lying.
That dude was going to figure out how to get it
He
done.
found a way.
He found a way.
Always.
And the only thing that I got into it talking to somebody on Twitter the other day, so they were talking about the Jeter, and I was like, first ballot, like without, no, it should be unanimous. And I said, but they said, hey, where do you have Jeter? I was like, off the top of my head, he's in my top 5, top 10 for shortstops. I said, he's nowhere near the Wizard.
No.
I don't know anybody. So now you got two things that you're gonna have to think of. One was your favorite fighter. You already gave it. Oh, you gave Sugar Ray. I don't know anybody in any other sport who is clearly the greatest at their position, more so than Oswald Smith.
Yeah.
Oh, no, yeah.
I don't know anybody you could say he is the best pitcher of all time. He is the best quarterback of all time.
Oh, no, but Ozzie is the shortstop.
He is the best shortstop of all time, bar none.
Yeah. He is, and there were guys who were special. I mean, you look at guys like Omar Vizquel who played in.
Look at Barry Larkin. If Barry Larkin doesn't play when Ozzie Smith is playing, we're talking about Barry Larkin like maybe the greatest shortstop of all time.
Right, but
his numbers are crazy. He's a world champion.
Yep.
He's clutch. You know what I mean?
See, but the time period too, because like Ozzie would come out and do the backflip.
It's beautiful.
Right, beautiful. Nowadays, no one would let him do that.
They tried to stop him then.
I know,
and they couldn't stop him.
But now.
But what about him throwing his arm out and still being able to
throw your arm out and you're still a monster?
And
he used to have a hose.
Oh, an unbelievable
San Diego.
arm.
He brought that out, throwing it on the run like that.
Throwing on the run.
He brought it out. He brought it to the league.
He brought it to the league.
Learning to
he led the league.
Bounce that thing on the turf.
90, 50, 40. Speaking of which, while we're online right now, LeBron James just passed Kobe Bryant on the all-time scoring list.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah.
And that is a big deal.
I think he's on track 21-22 season to pass Malone, and then 22-23 to potentially make a run if he stays on for Kareem. If he stays on the same trajectory. Wow. It's crazy.
That is crazy.
He is the best all-around player, like, you know,
The most complete player we've ever seen in basketball.
Because Magic's career got cut short. So
it's unfortunate. Because I personally think Magic Johnson, and I am not and was not a Laker fan.
No.
If there's somebody I would not bet against, it is. I'm talking about all time. It is Magic Johnson. Yeah. Magic Johnson could do it all,
and that's the thing.
And clutch.
Yep.
Yeah. That's the only knock I ever have, and I love LeBron James. The only knock I ever have is because I don't like LeBron in the clutch. See, that's the only problem I have with him.
The problem everybody has with LeBron in the clutch is exactly what we would tell. If you were a coach, you'd tell your team, and exactly what you would ask a player is make the right basketball play, not the right ego play. But then at the end of the game, you're like, you're the man.
And that's always the right basketball play. Right? I need you. You being the man is always the right basketball play. But that's an American thing.
Don't give it to Dudley.
Don't give it to Dudley.
But this is something that I said back. I told him offline before. It's just that I feel like LeBron not having a father might play into that a little bit.
He brought it. This is a great point.
But and it goes back to what we talked about earlier. That's all the more the reason that what he's done as a man is even more impressive, right?
Really, it sure is.
Because
usually that goes the other way.
And he's made no excuses about it.
Right.
You don't ever hear him complain about it or whine about it. I didn't have an example or nobody taught me how to do this. The man steps up and is a man's man in an
all the way around.
Louise.
Right?
Except at the end of the game where he needs to get the alpha male and he's not doing it. I live with it because
you have to appreciate the rest of his work.
I've always stood for him, even when he came out of high school.
He just needs one shooter.
Yeah.
He just needs one guy to hide in the corner.
Or if it's not a shooter, I actually think he needs a closer.
Yeah, it could be.
I don't think he needs.
Well, that's where Kyrie.
I don't think that's why it's Kyrie. He just needs one piece, which isn't something to be. Nothing to be ashamed of or to knock him.
Okay,
because if you look at all of these other guys that he's always in the conversation with, they're all on monster squads.
See, and
monster squads.
I love Davis.
Kobe and Shaq squad was a monster squad. If nothing else,
and
forget about Shaq.
Yeah.
The rest of the team is a monster squad.
Ori and all those guys. I mean, Fisher, everybody. But
Glenn Rice, Rick Fox.
Can Kuzma be that guy?
No.
And
they shouldn't have got rid of Brandon Ingram. That's what they shouldn't have done.
Well,
but it didn't work.
They didn't think he was ever going to be athletic.
They never gave him a chance.
Physical enough. They thought he was too slight.
Well, the thing is that mentally it was never going to work. There's a mental component to this that I think that one thing that I'm watching and from talking to the NBA guys that I talk to, one thing that's really interesting is the LeBron effect. Mm-hmm. And the LeBron effect is different than the Jordan effect or the Kobe effect, where actually the guys seem like terrible teammates to have from a fan perspective. You're like, man, I wouldn't really want to play with that guy, but he is going to help me get the ring. And chances are, because I'm under so much pressure, I am going to make the shot, or I am going to do this, or I am going to do that. The way that it gets kind of sold to me is it's not that with LeBron, because the shadow of LeBron, the man, and LeBron, the global supernova superstar, is so great that he's always protected and can do no wrong, even when he's playing GM and he's playing coach and he's playing all that stuff, which actually is wrong. Right. So you can never
win.
You just can never win.
Yeah.
At which point that doesn't make you want to be on his team, despite the fact that you would think everybody should want to be on the best player's team.
You went down the rabbit hole.
I'm sorry. Okay. I didn't mean to. Back to boxing.
You good, Ernie?
So
get it, Ernie.
One thing that happened is that you see this we got another striking of the Mexican meat apparently.
Who's got it?
Alexandra Jimenez, who won that big fight the other week when Franchon when her wig came off and her trainer said, "You forget that wig. you want your wig or you want these belts?
What about to eat with Canelo?"
Well, it wasn't her. It wasn't Franchon. It was the girl who beat her. Who, if you notice, if you follow Mauricio from the WBC, he put out a statement affirming her because a bunch of people, including Clarissa Shields and others, were like, "Yeah, I'd like to see some paperwork that she was born a woman and blah 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 blah." Geez. She's got a buzz cut, and so it got ugly for a second, like as though the league thought there was suspicion on whether or not what her gender was. Then, in a striking turn of events, Mauricio came out and was like, "Hey, don't do this." He addressed all of the boxers. He said, "Don't do this. Don't disrespect her. Don't disrespect the sport. She won the fight." Yeah. He came out and said it. Unfortunately, but also good for Maurizio, her VADA sample just came up dirty. Her post-fight VADA sample just came up dirty, and she took all of her belts.
Which would explain
a lot. And so, yeah.
Once again, we're back to cheating.
This is the theme of the episode.
Yeah, I mean, again, especially in a sport like boxing, cheating is literally
life and death.
You're literally the potential to kill somebody.
We spoke to Deontay Wilder about it.
We talked to Bomb Squad about Deontay Wilder, because, for a while, it really shortened his growth as a fighter.
Yeah.
Because he couldn't get a fight. He couldn't get any rounds.
Everybody's testing dirty.
Yep.
And then the next thing you know, it's been 9 months and he hasn't been in the ring.
Yeah, because there's nobody to fight, because everybody
tests dirty because they want to make sure that they got the best possible chance against the knockout artist.
Right.
All right, moving on. Actually, the homie is in action tonight. Ava Knight, she's a wonderful person. She's doing Bellator tonight at the Forum, and on the same card as Chris Cyborg. I'm not much for MMA, but that to announce that's happening. 2 pieces that I want to cover. The last 2 pieces. One, it's tennis time, and the first Grand Slam of the year is happening. Ooh. The Australian Open is popping. And Upset City has moved to Melbourne, ladies and gentlemen.
Wow.
What? This has been a great tournament so far, both on the men and the women's side. And finally, it looks like the kid Nick Kyrgios has got his mind together.
You think he's got it together?
We're about to find out, because he just went 5 sets with Khachanov and lost won a thriller 10-8 in a 5-setter. And now it's go time, because he's got to face Rafael Nadal.
I know.
Rafael Nadal is always ready to go.
Right. And I have a hard time believing that Nick is going to be prepared, because he does this. He
does.
He always gets
He makes you want to believe.
He sucks you in.
But something about playing down there at home, I'm hoping, you know what I mean?
There's something about those. This is the thing about athletes, right? Like, some people are great. Like, that's what makes Nadal and Federer and Serena.
We talk about this all. You have to respect it.
Right? Like, they're always
maintenance.
They're always good.
Sustained
very consistent
excellence.
Excellence, right?
Sustained excellence.
Right? And then you have these people,
they're on a roller coaster.
Yeah, you know that everyone, and this is the thing, every professional athlete has the potential in them, right?
Right.
So
they're physically, they're on the level.
So this is what you're looking at is, yes, no.
Yes. I can't believe you.
Yeah.
And so the Nadal, you go, which one of him is going to show up? And
Kyrgios.
Right? And you're thinking, well, he's at home, so this would be the time.
This would be the up. This would be the yes.
Could this be his run?
Yeah.
But the issue is, when you're facing sustained greatness,
right?
This can be your time, and you're still not better than me,
right?
Because I'm in the lab all the time,
right? And
forever, for the last 20 years.
And I definitely won't let you beat me.
I ain't gonna let a truck give it to me.
And he knows where he's playing, and he's been through it a million times.
He's been through it.
Come on.
The moment is never too big.
No.
He won't beat himself. Put it like that.
Right.
You're gonna have to
bring it.
You're gonna have to beat Rafael Nadal. But it's nice. Honestly, I like the kid. I hope the kid has a good year this year in Alexander Zverev. We got to hang out with the kid a little bit when we were on a tennis tour.
Him and his brother.
They're good people. And I think the kid looks good. He just straight set it in the 3rd round. He just straight set it Fernando Verdasco. This is the time when it's time to really, really watch, because everybody's about to face each other.
Yeah.
And you still got the usual suspects out there. You got Novak, you got Medvedev, who made a big statement and a big advance in his game last year. You got Novak still in, Rogers still in. Upset City is less prominent on the men's side right now than it is on the women's side. Looked like the big homie John Isner had to retire though.
Did he?
Yeah, something looks like he got hurt.
Oh, I hate that.
And he's a giant.
Yes.
And that's just part of the deal. But Gail looked good, by the way.
Another dude who will take you on that roller coaster ride.
Gail, he'll admit it.
Gail, he will admit it, and he really needs to take
Gail's
the game
so
serious.
French. He's super French. It's like, I win.
He likes to play Omar ping pong more than he likes to play tennis. Hey, where's your brother, huh? You can play some ping pong.
I said, hey, man, I need a rematch. Anytime, bro. He's a great guy. Great guy.
Gail is
I wouldn't bet on him, but he's a great guy. and Roger Federer ended up having to go the full boat. He went 5 sets. That guy. I really, you say it every year, but I feel like this is the year that the pack catches up
to him. Yeah,
not just him. To all three of him, Novak, and Nadal.
You think it's pretty even now?
I still think they have the edge because of that sustained excellence.
Right, but
I think
dominant.
I don't think it's. I think you'll see more of these 5-set matches.
Yeah,
which because of their age will then
wear them out.
And they'll have to pick and choose, like Roger's been doing wisely for the past few years, which tournaments to play, which tournaments to sit.
Which exactly what happened to Serena out there. She went
Here you go. There it is. Yeah. And then you got Serena Williams, who has an issue now, in my opinion, where it's even less the physical element, it's the mental element that I see when I watch Serena play now. Because
she's begging for calls and all this stuff.
She's so emotional, and I know this is going to come off like I'm mansplaining, but her body language when the point doesn't go her way, when she gets down, that girl that beat her did everything she could to give her that match.
Everything.
She really did. She should have straight setted her. She broke her at like 3-3, I want to say. She had the match. She had another break opportunity for the set. And she blew it. I think she was up love 40.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And she blew it. She was up love 40 and 4-3, which would have put the thing on her racket, the match on her racket. She ended up losing that game. Then she got broke. Then they went tie break, and she fell apart in the tie break. Then in the third set, they were even, and she ended up breaking her, and she still tried to give Serena the match, and Serena just couldn't get it. Clearly, she's the greatest women's player of all time. There's nothing to prove. She's trying to get this 24th Grand Slam, and it would have been nice for her to get it on Margaret Court's home turf. Didn't end up happening. But the real talk of the town, who went to the lab, is the 15-year-old phenom, the greatest teenage athlete on the planet, young Coco Gauff.
Coco.
And her great support system, once again, who's out there with her. I love seeing it.
Yeah.
But Coco went to the lab, and one thing that's great about watching her is you see her developing right in front of your eyes.
You see the growth, and it's not little growth.
No.
It's like you go.
Leaps and bounds, right?
Oh, look at her.
Yeah.
Right? And you're like, oh, now she figured this out.
That's it.
And you're like, oh.
Sometimes in match.
Yeah. And you're like, wow, watch her go to her right in a way she didn't before.
That's it.
Right?
In a way she couldn't last set.
Yeah. And like, watch her rush
That's
the
it.
way she didn't before.
They'll try stuff that in the first set gets her, and she'll lose a set. And the second set, she makes an adjustment, she wins a set. Third set, they try something else on her, and she'll get down, and then she can come back. She's an intelligent ball player, which I really, really like. But the most impressive thing that I've seen on the Australian Open courts was her coming back and beating Naomi Osaka, because Naomi Osaka gave her the what's for last year in New York.
And she said what she was going to do, and she actually went out there and executed. She said she was going to be more aggressive. She was more aggressive, and it turned out to be, key.
Well, and when she struggled, she found a way to switch it. You know what I mean?
That's it. She didn't pout, and she left what was behind.
Yes.
That was huge.
And at that age, can you imagine?
Oh, this is what we're saying. This is why it's so impressive.
At that age, to be this
focused.
Physical is great.
Yes.
Focus is great. But mentally tough.
She's tough.
I mean,
She's
that's
tough.
mentally tough.
And this is the thing. You could see in the Wimbledon run when she announced herself, there was a bit of where she needed to – she beat Venus in that super emotional match of beating your idol and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And then there was a little bit of the wilderness, which was like, man, geez, this is a little bit of a letdown now. I won 2 matches and that I didn't expect all this attention, blah, blah, blah. And she's been able to develop and advance. And I'm really happy for them. And I'm really happy for American tennis for that. But number 2, Pliskova got upset yesterday. It's hard to watch the matches. I had to work the other morning, so I still didn't get to watch that Coco Gauff Osaka match. Did you watch it?
No, I watched some of it. But
did you get to see
I
it?
watched most of it, yeah.
And now, did Osaka beat herself, or did Coco Gauff beat her?
No, I would say
I think she beat her.
I think she beat her.
Interesting.
I think there are some moments that Osaka obviously would, but that's every match, right?
Yeah.
But I think, like you said, Coco is doing this thing where it's like, oh, you burned me that way? Well, watch me make the adjustment. That's not the other person losing it. That's you winning it.
Yeah, that's true. Now, do you believe that Naomi Osaka is underachieving right now?
100%. She should be the best tennis player in the world right now. But
Now, but she ranked number
two. Number 4, I think.
but-
She's number 4 now.
But that's it. Like, okay, it's hard for me to bury her from the standpoint of I do think
I'm not gonna.
You know, but I'm saying she could.
She's number 3. Number 3 in the world.
She should be right. She maybe should be the top. But like, that's a terrible match to end up with.
Oh man, she's got a tough road. But also, she's been underachieving since she split with her trainer, and she went with a new trainer, and for some reason things don't seem to be gelling. I don't know what it is, but results wise, it hasn't been the same since she went back to back at the U.S. Open and the Australian Open.
What did you hear was the reason behind that change?
Now what I kept hearing was that it was personal.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
That's what I heard. That it was a personal reason, which makes me a little uneasy.
Yeah, it makes me uneasy.
Yeah, and
because it was working from a tennis
professionally,
from a professional,
it was working.
And so when you're ascending like that,
I mean, to the highest height, you became the best almost overnight. You were the one,
right? And then all of a sudden you're like, "Hey, this doesn't work."
Yeah, it's over,
and you're out.
And I'm not as good.
Yeah, and now I'm going to get somebody else, and now it's not working.
It's not working.
And you would think if it wasn't something fairly big, you'd go back.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah. That relationship is severed.
Yeah. And like that's the one where you just go, okay, something
untoward happened.
The team matters, right? In tennis, and people never talk about it, the team matters.
Just like in boxing.
Yeah.
There is no such thing as an individual sport, even in the individual sports.
Yeah. Because we watched Derek James with the boxers, and we can tell that if it wasn't for Derek James, in a lot of ways, because they need those outside eyes, that they wouldn't be able to execute a game plan or even have a game plan to be able to compete.
Yeah, I mean, you can't see everything yourself.
No.
It's impossible. Ask Andy Ruiz.
Dude.
He's still trying.
Too early.
Sorry, bro. Sorry. I'm out of line. See everything yourself. But so Coco's is in a tight one right now with another fellow American, Sophia Kenin. It's 6-6 in the first set. They're in a tiebreak. She's up 3-2. Wow, it's tight. Man, I'm so happy I don't have to go to work.
Man, it's such a challenge in tennis right now because everybody's so good. You were saying,
there's parity in the league right now.
Like, there's parity all the way across. And
yeah.
There's so many good tennis players. And that's the thing. Man, your team matters. Where you're playing matters. All of these things matter and are heightened because there's so much talent. And that's the fun of watching tennis right now. So if people aren't into tennis, now's a great time to
jump in. Tennis is in a good space right now.
Yeah.
Really good place. And then I want to wrap it up with 2 pieces. One, I want to do a sneak preview. We got the Super Bowl coming up. We're going to have another pod next week where we speak about it. But as we told you guys, the San Francisco 49ers were going to embarrass Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. And we need to speak about the Chiefs stopping Derrick Henry, which was pretty impressive. But I'm a firm believer that wild card game, it was one of the hardest things in sports is to win the Super Bowl as a wild card.
Right.
Because the game is too punishing. Like you're going into 5 months of that punishment it's rough.
And then not even just with the punishment, but the other team gets to sit out and scout you.
Yep.
Scout you and heal.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they get to heal up, which is big. But we'll get into that on the next episode. But there's 2 pieces that I want to get into now. One is the Antonio Brown meltdown. And on Nino Brown watch, business is booming, is the homie. I haven't seen him in a long time, but I've been seeing him on the news. And now he finally got arrested. And did you guys see the video of him actually bolting out of the courthouse?
No.
It's like you think it's.
Did he run around?
You're like,
hey, listen to this.
That's the best Antonio Brown ran in a while.
Antonio Brown gets in. He drew it up inside the courtroom.
I'll give you a cup.
Okay, break. Pull up
the car.
Don't worry, left to the door. Don't worry, I'll get there.
I want the back door. The back door.
You better hit me at the back door. So he leaves. He got arrested. The story behind why there was an arrest warrant for him is absurd. Somebody was delivering some furniture to the house. He didn't want to pay the guy, so the guy left. Then Nino calls the boss, says, I'll pay the money. The boss is like, well, now I'm delayed, so there needs to be a premium on top of that. He's like, yeah, I'll pay it, man. I'm rich, whatever. shows up, and this is a nominal sum. We're talking about like $800 extra, $600, something like that. Guy shows back up. He says, I'm giving you the original fee and nothing else. You get the $4,000, you get nothing else. He said, I'm not releasing your property without this extra money.
Right.
Nino and his boy jump in the truck. They start beating the dude up, apparently. And so then there's an arrest warrant out for his boy. And then there's an arrest warrant out for Antonio. He goes in, he bonds out. Then once he bonds out, he's in a lime green suit.
The same suit from years ago.
And the paparazzi's there. And he comes down the stairs. You have to look this video up. I will show it to you, but you need to see it. He comes out, and they're like, Antonio. He literally, he's a monster professional athlete. He breaks out a awesome sprint, and in true Naked Gun fashion, his car was on the other side of the parking lot. So he had to run back by the paparazzi.
He's like, excuse me, I gotta go that way.
Man, I'm praying for my brother. Praying for Nino Brown.
So talented.
I think that he's suffering.
So troubled.
Yeah, I think he's suffering from brain injuries.
He may have.
Could be.
He got lit. If you remember,
several times.
Oh yeah,
at late too. Like recently in that.
See, but they laid him out, and this is the one thing. Like Roethlisberger has done this for
a lot of guys.
To a few guys.
Yeah, he
right?
sure has. Take him over the middle.
Right.
He sets them up.
And he just lays it up and right into people.
Yep.
And that's the one thing is Antonio Brown never cared.
Oh, no, he sacrificed the body.
And he was all
He
about
wanted
it.
to make the play.
He wanted every
He was the
moment.
best.
And he was.
And
that's, man, I hope that he can figure it out.
Do you think this is rock bottom? That's my question.
Well, God, I hope so.
But you keep thinking that. It's like the Trump thing. You
I
keep
know.
thinking that, and then next thing you know, there's another low.
Well,
Not to tie in.
It's for
I'm
his-
not trying to tie Nino to 45.
for his family.
That is what I'm saying.
I hope that somebody's got to get to him. Like, this is the place, right? And this is where being surrounded by yes people and all the stuff. Like,
Right.
your boy didn't help you by jumping in the truck.
He did not help.
Like, this is one of those
He's
times.
staying at the house and he didn't help.
Like-
He's supposed to be helping you move. He
Right.
did not.
Like,
The other thing that happened is that the judge, upon releasing him, is calling for a mental evaluation.
yeah.
So it's not like
Well, the bail system, first of all, the bail system is a crime in this country.
Right.
Oh, it's an actual crime against people of color.
Yeah, 100%.
That's all it is.
My buddy used to be a bondsman. I worked for a little while. I was a fugitive recovery specialist, which meant I went and took some people in between work stuff. And I was like, this is the biggest sham.
Yeah.
Well, you look at people's records, right? You can watch the slow escalation, but you're like, man, there's a lot of people in a lot of places. If they had a little bit of money, this crime
They would have got dismissed.
would have never happened.
Would have never happened.
Right? And then the bail system of like, you go in, we bail you out a little, and then we
Watching
chase
the
you, and you're just
video.
like, oh, you're watching the video of him
Why are you
running.
looking like Marvin Gaye?
You messed up. You dirty. Your old boy is going through something right now.
Make me want to holler.
You got to throw up both hands. Yeah, I agree though. But
Yeah.
definitely got to end cash bail. This is a scam.
Well, it's always
It's by design.
it's by design, and this is
It's
one of those
systemic.
examples where it's like how this ended up being something where he had to go in and bond out. Every other athlete somehow magically
Didn't even have to go.
didn't have to go,
Yeah.
or finds a way. Somebody representative goes down there for him. They don't have to show, or they go through a back door, and then he's got to come out. And again, bad planning on his part, because now the video is like,
Oh, the video's absurd.
It's
Yeah,
absurd.
but the dude cussed out the police. He ran his family and his kids
ran
down.
his kids-
I know.
he ran his family down from-
Well,
and they're not going to let
and
you
those poor
slide now.
kids.
Yeah, and
Well, the thing is they don't care. I would say they don't care that he ran his kids down. His girl down.
no,
in
it's
front of
because
his
they
kids.
ran him down.
He
down.
ran them down.
law
Yep.
enforcement.
He
didn't.
ran law enforcement down
Johnny
in
Law.
public.
and
Yeah.
embarrassed him.
And he embarrassed them in public.
embarrassed Johnny Law.
We were talking about on the last pod. For the law enforcement to give back a donation, man, that's a serious.
Yeah.
When you ever heard of that?
Yeah, they need the money, right?
Yeah.
So that didn't come light.
Yeah, exactly. That was a decision. So, so we got that in the NFL. The other thing we want to talk about that I want to give a sneak preview because we'll spend another hour on that is the Aaron Hernandez documentary, which has taken over. There's a lot of really interesting stuff in that documentary to cover.
Sure is.
And I think that the documentary itself covered way too much of the wrong stuff.
Yeah.
And they made it, they sensationalized some stuff that honestly can't be corroborated.
Yeah, I'm proof.
One guy.
None.
But you guys are saying stuff about the homosexuality, and they pushed the whole homosexual.
They pushed the homosexual angle heavy.
Yeah, instead of focusing on the actual crimes more so and everything else, they focused on the crimes, but that was like secondary.
Well, it's interesting because
they tied the sexuality in,
but it takes
as
them
though they were all, to his entire life.
Yes.
They made the homosexuality his identity. To the point, and I thought there was much, much deeper and more compelling information to mine out of what they had. Obviously, the footage is there.
Right.
The stuff is there, man. And that story is insane. I left the doc, and we'll go into it further on another pod, but I left the doc feeling sorry for Aaron Hernandez, to be honest. And
well, you always need to have empathy even for the worst people out there because, you know, it's just hard. Life is hard.
Life is hard.
And the guy's done some of the wrong things.
Clearly.
I'm
not saying that.
And we're all saying we have empathy for all the other victims,
right.
all the other people.
Oh, yeah, that needs to be covered.
Right.
I'm not saying that. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I did not. Clearly, I sympathize with the families of the people that were murdered
too, right? Like, there's this weird thing of like, well, the person's not here to speak on it, so we can label them and make
this gave me a real serious problem. I had a real serious problem with that.
Yeah,
and why don't we label the person who molested him? Why we
don't bring that up?
Yeah.
And
we just introduce it, but we don't
go deep into that.
We don't go deep into that.
And
we gloss over this giant fact that they said he had the brain the size of a 90-year-old dementia patient, an 81-year-old dementia patient.
It's like
at 26 years old,
that's
27
kind
years
of
old.
insane. Like, nobody thinks that the science behind that needs to really be covered.
Right.
Instead, we want to talk to a guy who spent his NFL career in the closet with no relation to Aaron Hernandez, just to justify the narrative about Aaron Hernandez and closeted athletes and beards. Hey, listen, man, if Aaron Hernandez was getting his that way, that's on Aaron Hernandez. I don't actually think that that's a clear enough motive for him to then go. I personally felt like it had something to do with some dope dealing that was going on.
Right.
I felt like that Aaron Hernandez kind of got the Tupac a little bit, where he got a little too deep into character and he got involved with some people that were really about that, and it went the wrong way for him. And he got involved and either was witness to and or the trigger man for some stuff that wasn't right.
Yeah, contributed to stuff that he may have never planned on being involved in. But again, you're in so I'm not giving him any way out, but it's so bizarre to me that your whole premise on this, it's like you came with an idea
and you decided that was the motive. You decided that was the fact.
Yeah.
That's what you decided.
But this is my thing with a lot of these documentaries right now, is we keep coming up with these documentaries. You're like,
with conjecture.
Do we need proof? No, you could just
you don't need any proof anymore.
You could just, well, the guy's dead, so we can say whatever we want, and I can have whatever agenda. And
I agree.
And it's like, listen, there's plenty of things to track here. Then just track them all and tell me the facts.
Let me make the decision. I mean, one thing that was a fact that I had a very serious problem with was the idea that the NFL was told what was going on, and they helped him get this secret side apartment to make sure that Patriot dynasty was still popping.
Right.
Is that not?
Can you believe that?
Like enabling.
Enabling.
And do you see that story anywhere?
No.
Because you think that would be like, whoa, but
slid right under the radar because everybody wants to. Everybody wanted to hammer home. Not everybody, but whoever the filmmakers were wanted to hammer home. This narrative.
Why does anybody care what people do at home? And
that has nothing to do with me. It's none of my business.
Listen,
I'm not asking you to do it.
Right? And I don't care what anybody does.
Well, that has nothing to do with me.
And I don't want to know anything about it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm interested in Aaron Hernandez, arguably being the greatest tight end of all time if he doesn't end up going crazy. And interested in this story about this lost young man who did some terrible clandestine things that influenced and impacted the waves of this thing. I mean, you could probably ripple effect like 200 people out of this thing.
And how do you prevent the next one, right? Like, this is the part. Like, if you gain some knowledge or something out of it, but we didn't.
No,
we just decided we were going to go this way and that way.
That was
this
it.
Way
that was it.
And then
very well put. I guess we cover it on this one. Man, Odin's homeboy really loved him. Man,
he sure did.
Man, his boy loved him. I like that guy in the doc.
I did too.
He kept it 100.
Yeah,
it's just a whole bad series of events from the Patriots organization to NFL.
Poorly played.
With his family. I feel like his brother needed to step in a long time ago.
I felt really bad that
and then you know
it's dark
with it. You know
it's dark if his big brother didn't really know what was going on.
Right.
Well, and that was the thing with me is where I felt like, sorry, my theory on it was this, is that I felt like Aaron Hernandez got involved. Now his boy, real quick, just to add to before I say this, his boy brought up a great point in the doc, which was Aaron going to the Patriots was the worst thing that could have happened because he was too close to all of the bad elements in his life.
Yeah.
I felt like they did a decent amount of time, but maybe not enough time mining the information to him when he was down in Florida in college. Because we're talking about a guy that's a potential serial killer or not. This is a big...
And a lot of that stuff started down there.
This is what we mean.
Like,
and also, this CTE thing cannot be overstated. It's possible that Aaron, clearly he was suffering from CTE, but it's possible that he had been suffering from CTE for a while.
And you can't tell until after these guys pass.
Which is just, they got to come up with something different.
It's the scariest thing because the people get altered in a way that we don't understand. Like, we're just now getting the technology to map brains to begin with, right?
To start with.
Where we are 10 years ago, we couldn't image things the way we can now. Now we're just starting to figure out what's what. We're just starting to get the idea of what things are. It's like trying to tell me what's at the bottom of the ocean. We know like 4% of the ocean, right?
Yes.
And we're kind of that way in brains, and we keep thinking that we know and that we can just explain it away like it's no big deal. No, we need to know.
And we need to study more.
And we need to know, and we need to study, and we need to be diving in it, and we need to be honest about it. Because
we don't want to have
costing
honest
people's
conversations.
lives.
And multiple people with the ripple effect.
Yeah.
Now, I believe that the dope dealer that he was involved with that said that he shot him in Miami when they went to the strip club, I believe that Hernandez, and this is all clearly conjecture, this is just my thoughts after the doc. I think that there was some funny business, some dope dealing that went on because he seemed like he became obsessed with the weed. Overall, he seemed obsessed with, one thing that was a through line that I didn't think that they were trying to force as a through line, but was a through line was that there was always weed involved.
Yeah.
But you know what? That seems to be a running theme in the NFL. A lot of these guys are
and I don't blame them. And the fact that the weed, as opposed to all these other drugs that may be contributing to the CTE, is a serious problem. That the weed is looked down upon. But something is going on. I have a friend who had an allergic reaction to the weed and changed his life. He ended up having a complete breakdown. He had to learn how to walk and talk and
kill Bruce Lee.
Yeah, but see, but this is the thing. We don't like drugs in this country, but then also all the stuff that is being manipulated in the because it's not
just regular weed you grow in the back.
It's not weed from like 1960.
No, it's not.
It is,
which also killed Bruce Lee.
Yeah,
right.
It's a combination of all kinds. Plus, people don't realize some people are allergic to it to begin with.
This is what I'm saying.
Like,
this is what I'm saying. I believe that there was some sort of clandestine activity that he got involved in. I think that he was a trigger man on some of the murders, and I think that he was privy to other murders. I think he was involved in all the murders. I also don't know. I didn't like that exchange with him and Robert Kraft.
No.
Because that Robert Kraft it was weird because the way he was looking at him, at one point he was looking at him like a little boy, like, oh, shoot, coach is here.
Right.
But at another point, he was looking at him like,
oh, shoot, coach is here.
No, he's looking at him. No, yeah, but he was looking at him at a point when he's coming off the stand like, are you going to tell them the truth of what I told you or not?
Right.
Or are you just going to lie? You know what I mean? Because it seemed as though he showed up to Gillette, told him what happened, and was like, yeah, because the entire crux of them convicting him in that first case was Robert Kraft.
Yeah.
That's the whole, they didn't have the weapon. It all laid on the shoulders of Robert Kraft saying, yeah, he came and he told me
that he did.
I can't wait until the timeline is revealed because that'll clear me. That'll exonerate me. That was their whole basis of them doing it.
Yeah, but then they had the towers, his phone pinging on the towers. They had his DNA at the scene.
I'm not saying he wasn't there. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that.
But either way, he's an accomplice to a murder.
Yeah, but that's different than getting convicted as a trigger man, especially when you look at the second case, especially when Robert Kraft was the one who got him the representation. And then you look at the second case when he got his own representation, and the lawyer brought up some great points, like when he was supposed to be the trigger man in the drive-by, like, oh, he left, he was steaming mad, he was this, he was that. And they show him taking pictures with people like, oh, come on, what's up, man? Let's fire it up. Let's go.
Well, that's the thing. We'll never know because
we'll never know.
And that's part of my problem. I guess the doc did the successful part of making us talk about it, but the part it does a disservice because you're glancing over all these things, and these are the things that we need to know because you need to. He's not the only guy.
That's my point. I guess that's a better way of putting it. I don't think that the cases have been solved.
Right.
Either of the ones that they talked about.
Now
but they're all closed.
Yeah, and conveniently closed. But that means that there are other people out there who knows what else they're doing because none of it's good.
And the downside to it more so than anything is that he was an NFL player that had a great career that shouldn't have been in that position anyway or a situation, and he made a bunch of bad decisions, and then he even complicated them more by keep following through and hanging out with that bad crowd.
Well, and that's the thing is.
And the NFL needs some kind of mentorship program or something.
They have some, but it's funny. Every time I watch one of these mentor things, it's a guy on stage basically telling people, listen, we've all been young. When you're young, older people can tell you all the time about how stupid you're being.
Right.
It doesn't change what you do. Unless somebody steps up with you or walks with you and says, hey, this is how it turns on you, or let me show you how this is going to turn bad. You can tell me your story all day long because every young guy in the world is like, well, that won't be me.
Right.
Oh, I'll go with this chick.
That's a great point.
Like, oh, I can do this. A bunch of people did it, right? Like, especially you're a young NFL player. You got all this money coming to you. You're big, strong, active.
Total stud.
You feel like you're invincible, right? Well, everybody feels pretty close to invincible at 18 and 19 years old, right up until you're like 21 and something terrible happens, or till you're 30 and you can't get out of bed. Right? Like, and that's part of the problem is get them some real help. You should be pairing them with older guys. Yeah. Like older peers. You should be pairing them with some of these guys. They need, especially guys who came, like he came out of college with trouble.
Yeah.
And that's why he didn't get drafted.
Right.
It's not this is the part I was talking about where, sorry about that, where I was saying that he knew he was in trouble at one point.
Yeah.
Which leads me to believe what lends less to the CTE and more to bad decisions, which may have been connected to the CTE.
I think they were connected.
But I'm saying
escalated.
or escalated by. But what I'm saying is it's not like he was fully out of his mind all the time.
Right.
You know, it was like he knew that there was some bad stuff on the horizon. If you know there's some bad stuff on the horizon and you can't tell your older brother what's going on, man, we're really down the rabbit hole now.
Yeah.
Now we're in the spot that's like, because the teamwork element, he was really solo once and not enough can be said for his woman. Jeez Louise.
Oh,
man.
Really?
Talk about a queen.
Right?
She's right.
Jeez.
Like, and again, wow, she just was like, she's
pretty much separated from her family.
She came out and said she actually came out and said something recently. She came out and said something because she said, I've been trying to respond to everybody ever since the documentary came out. I took a break from social media because I anticipated some of this, but thank you all for the support. I wanted to be a good mother, but I also want to be a good wife and blah blah. She still seems extremely positive.
But that's the thing is, in private, right? Maybe the guy in the relationship was okay. And
this is what I'm saying. This is why I had such a hard time with them coming up with an ironclad conclusion that he was a homosexual.
Well, and for her
consistently.
And his murderous rampage went on because he was trying to keep a cover up of them being a homosexual.
This is the problem that I have, and I want that to come out clear. It's not that I'm bashing the homosexual or the homosexuals or the activity. What I'm saying is that the conclusion that they made was exactly what you just said. Was because of something. Because of A, he did B.
Well, and and actually it goes further, right? Like, because what you're saying is that in our country, being homosexual is such a taboo that it would warrant doing all these other horrible things.
Right.
Like, that's not a good justification.
That a logical individual would say, yeah, well, Odin
but that's where the football
out,
player came in. You know, the prop football player that they had
in there to
justify
and
to sell the narrative.
That's all they were doing. That's all they tried to do.
And then I for the kid, right? Like,
Come on, man.
That's what I was talking about. That kid's going to grow up eventually and see this documentary.
Yeah.
It's going to make her
10,000 questions.
Have nothing but questions. And these filmmakers going to speak on that?
No proof, no answers. Right?
Right.
Like, if you think her life wasn't tough enough before, like, this is the one thing. Again, goes back to what we were talking about.
She's got to wear her dad writing a letter talking about, I killed myself for you, so you're rich?
Yes. Like, and having some benefit from it too. Like, she's always going to have some of that guilt, and all of this is already hanging on her. You don't have to hang extra on her.
And I felt like they did.
Life is hard enough. Dude.
Yeah, I felt like they did a poor job of that. I really did, and because they seemed insensitive to some stuff. Anyways, Fish, you are now officially family of the O-Zone, man.
I'm in. I made it.
What's up, fam?
You had a graded bat. Okay. You're a professional bat.
He didn't take a walk. He fought off 3 tough ones, man.
He got down 0-2.
He got down 0-2.
Down 0-2. 0-1, 0-0 pitch was tough.
Nope.
I was willing to wear one.
You were willing to wear one. You were willing to wear one. I mean, being prepared on all levels, I really appreciate that.
Good work. Had a couple people come up and joke.
We had quite a few people come up that they just freeze up. I mean, obviously you're a professional in front of the camera, so I didn't expect that out of you. But I didn't expect you to be proficient in all the sports. So I appreciate that.
Thanks for having me.
Tell the people where they can see you.
Well, The Connors is on Tuesday night. And,
what channel?
ABC.
ABC Tuesday nights. What time?
Live episode coming up. We're on 8 o'clock, 7 Central.
Prime time.
And then on the 11th of February, we're doing 2 live, an East Coast and a West Coast. We're going to see if anybody messes one up.
Well, I'll be watching. That's awesome.
Have a little extra pressure, but again, that's what you live
there's
for,
no
right?
problem. Yeah,
pressure's an opportunity, right?
Yeah. I got nothing, but I'm sure you'll be fine. I'm sure it won't be you.
And what about your charity?
And so Altruistic Acres is my daughter's kind of environmental charity, and then We Commend is more of a social, and we do a lot of stuff with homelessness and community-based stuff.
Awesome, brother. Man, you really solid guy. If you don't know him, now you know him. Look him up, follow him, keep in contact with him, and watch him live so you can see him clutch up because he's a clutch player. Want to leave you with a persistence quote, and it's something that I really like from Paramahansa Yogananda, and it is that persistence guarantees that results are inevitable. Stay at what you're doing, folks. And remember, we have to take care of each other because we're all in this thing together. I'm your host, Omar Miller, and this is the O-Zone.
O-Zone.
I'm just living the dream. I'm in love with the lights. This is not just a game. This here is my life. Put the cameras on me, yeah, yeah. Put the cameras on me, yeah, yeah. Put the cameras on me, yeah, yeah. Put the cameras on me, yeah.